What is up, everybody? Welcome in, welcome in. Journey through the gate. If you don't know me, I'm Cisco, and I'm just one of you looking for answers. How's everybody doing tonight? Look at all these beautiful people in here. Can you hear me okay? My 5-5. I'm afraid to touch any buttons tonight. I'll tell you what, I had everything set up. Come in here, sit down. It's like 10 minutes before the show, maybe 8 minutes. Had some last minute rushing around to do. Hey, Mayhem, welcome in here. All these wonderful faces in here. Ted, good to see you. Ted was in here first, getting business done, dropping a bunch of links, and I appreciate it so very much. I need to send you one over, Ted, for my channel. If I'll do it during when we're playing one of the videos, and it's going to be going to my channel for a little story. If you are a fan of old radio plays, I'm going to play you just about 10 minutes of a story that relates to our topic tonight. And the topic tonight, why do they stay? You know, what causes you to hang back, get stuck, be tethered to the earthly plane, to be rooted in the earth and it's the material world. You know what I mean? To be stuck in between the physical and non-physical. I mean, it's just it's really quite something. Depending on what trail you take down there, it's almost like our JFK episodes. It's like we're down this dark hallway and we open up doors and we look in there and go, "Ooh, I'm not ready for that yet," and close the door real quick. But you got to kind of go back in and explore it because it might have a missing piece to this big mystery we call paranormal and life and afterlife and everything in between. So, how's everybody tonight? I hope you're doing good. I got to tell you, um, oh, the radio play. Let me get back to that real quick and be done with that. So, I'm going to do there are multiple radio plays on my Journey Through the Gate channel. If you like them, there's a whole playlist. Get in there, click it. You can, I've done little visuals with it, and it might be like a quick visual of the main movie or the book or whatever it may be. I mean, there's everything from Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol to Alfred Hitchcock stories. What was it? Strangers on a Train, I think, and Ghost of Mrs. Muir. And just real classics that these people did great. I mean, Wizard of Oz. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in there. Anyway, and a lot of like old suspense radio shows and a lot of CBS mysteries. So what I tried to do was take those. A lot of them, believe it or not, are as old as I am, and are in public domain. So you can take them and you can take the audio, and respectfully add some visuals to it, nice fireplace, roaring fireplace, like ghost stories around a campfire, depending on the theme of what it might be. But if there was something in it to where I could show you a quick flash of like saying Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, in the house flying, or the witch, or something. So it added to it, the visuals. So anyway, if you like them, they're there. There's dozens of them. Enjoy. Tonight there was one that I always liked, and I remember hearing it back in the 70s. And the reason it caught my ear, and believe me, back then you didn't have a list of upcoming, you might get a snippet of a show, next week's show, and they'll give you a little teaser of a little bit of audio of what's coming next week. But you don't have a list of like you would now and be able to look a month ahead or a week ahead even. We didn't have TV Guide for radio. At least nothing popular. So you got what you got. So Friday night, Saturday night, wherever you were listening to it out of Chicago or New York or whatever, you might have been 8, 9, 10. It's kind of like our Art Bell back in the day stuff. And you'd hear these plays. Well, this one I happened to catch. It's late at night. I think coming at like 10 o'clock at night, something like that, out of New York. I was getting WNEW radio out of New York City, New York. So they played all the cool rock and roll in the album, long album cuts and stuff. If you listen to WNEW, you listen to something else, you probably got, who knows, high school, 70s. So I remember catching this one. And it was really cool because I was so into the paranormal, supernatural even then. I mean, I was headlong into it by the time high school came on. So I'm listening to it and I caught a name. It was Bryce Boyd. And he was actually radio host. He did a little voice acting and some other stuff. And I think maybe a little acting, maybe commercials, something. I don't know. But anyway, he was a name that got kicked around if you were hip to people like Hans Holzler, and if you were reading his books, Ghost I've Met, and 120 books, right? Hans Holzler. So you're bound to hit one of them. If you were just hitting into the Amityville, a lot of people sparked their um, interest then when that came out, and that was hitting the headlines because devil made me do it kind of stuff. And I mean, that really brought everything back up again. And again, keep in mind, take into account, keep in mind, do both at the same time. That how did the word get out then? If you didn't have a local TV show doing it, or if it wasn't a book that came out, somebody wasn't doing some kind of a presser run, locally on it or something like that, advertisement in a newspaper, big enough to be on television on a commercial, like we had those things where you could get oh God, who put them out? Ted, who put those things out? Anybody else in the chat, holler out. It was an encyclopedia, but it was like you know 4 easy payments or whatever, and you joined a club and you got a different book every month, and it would have like all these crazy things that it would be focused. So it would be haunted castles, haunted hotels, murder hauntings or whatever it was. But you got these books. I think it was Time Life, wasn't it? I think it was. But anyway, those were the days back with the K-Tel albums and everything. It would have all the hits on one album. Don't you want it? You do. $2.95. $2.95. Hurry up and order. Quick, quick, quick. Come on, you got to remember the K-Tel albums. Was it Britannica? It could have been. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, they had really cool commercials because they'd have the well-produced commercials, and they'd have this guy, getting out of the car, and he's just walking in. He's got his briefcase, his three-piece suit on, and he's going into work, and the voiceover is saying something along the lines of, this is Harry, and he's going to work, and he doesn't realize that, the prediction his wife told him at breakfast that he scoffed at, he should have listened to, because he's going to die in his office today, that kind of thing. It'll be predictions, book 1, order now, become a member, cancel anytime, those kind of things. So we had that kind of stuff, but you didn't get the message unless you went really digging, going to the library and getting every damn book you get your hands on. And I've told the story 1,000 times of going into a new library, new school, and having to find out where everything is again, and having librarians that maybe weren't too keen on you looking for, occult things or true ghost stories. I had one tell me there was no true ghost stories, plain and simple. No such thing. You still run into people like that. They're just so adamant about it. I definitely think it's changing, though. I think probably in the 70s, the amount of people that believed in ghosts, plain and simple, not in an afterlife, not in all this other stuff, just ghosts, period, was probably 45, 50%, maybe even lower. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. But what are you putting there? Bredopedia? Yeah. So that's how word got out. So when I caught this story on CBS Mystery, again, out of WNEW New York, and I mean, it was really cool because you're just, you're chilling, you're back, it's late, probably a Friday, Saturday night, maybe even a Sunday before school. I know a couple times they ran them, they hit then, so it's kind of as high schoolers, as, fringe people. It was our, if you didn't listen to Dr. Demento, I forget where that came out of, Chicago, maybe. We picked it up in New York, and we got it here in Jersey. There wasn't a lot of people, listening to CBS Mystery, trying to pick up paranormal snippets of fact and true things. Most of the stuff was, a story based on Homer's Iliad, a story based on, the fall of Pompeii, but it would be a mysterious, whatever, hidden treasure, pirates thing. You'd get a couple of ghost things thrown in there. But the ones that this guy was in, the Bryce Bond, when he showed up, he had 4 now out of Long Island. Again, I'm in Jersey, so we got a lot of Long Island. I don't know what the hell's going on in Long Island. But Amityville, we had the Haunted, we had the Warrens all up and down in there. I don't know what, Indian burial grounds, the whole developments, on cemeteries and stuff. I don't know what's going on. It's absolutely lunacy. But when I heard that, it made me go look this guy up, and I could go and find some of his cases. Far be it, you had to look at magazines, Fate magazine, other stuff. There wasn't a lot of ways to look somebody. There wasn't even computers, So if he didn't write a book, or he wasn't in a magazine, or you didn't hear somebody on an interview, a very obscure, few and far between interview, you didn't get any information, right? So when I heard this, I was really excited about it, and it opened up a couple of doors down that dark, hallway we're talking about that leads to the very dark alley of the paranormal. Welcome in, Elo. So everybody grab a seat, get you some snacks, get you a cuppa, and I've heard a few good compliments about our little talk about tea, Ted. We had a good time talking about tea. I guess tea is always going to be in the conversation when we're talking about us over here and you guys across the pond and back and forth. It blows my mind. Every old mystery, BBC mystery that I watch, they're always coming around. Somebody's coming around a corner with a couple of cuppas, and it's coming from nowhere. Yesterday I watched an episode of Vera, and Vera said, "She care for brew?" It's just, yes, I would. If you're going to say it like that, you're going to continue to talk that way, and we're going to have an interesting conversation of who the hell left the body on, in the dumpster behind, the fish and chips over there. I'm so there. I am there. I don't even care how the tea is brewed at this point. I just love every bit of it. So if you like that kind of thing, I highly suggest. I am up to my eyeballs in binging Vera. Don't tell me. I know I've already seen the last episode. I know how it ends. I'm trying to catch everything I've missed in between, and then I'm moving on. I've got some other stuff. I went to AI and I asked AI, I said, here, these are the things I really like. Go find me some other shows that are just like this. And in nanoseconds, again, I don't want to get into discussion about AI. I just spent a really good episode, Bill Bean talking about how these son of guns are jumping threads and following people and, resisting being shut off and all this other. We'll do a whole episode on AI because it's getting a little, it's getting a little scary. But while it's here and everything is copacetic, dude, I'm going to get my episode straight. You know what I'm saying? Because I got, a lot of research to do. And if I can go there and say, look, I'm almost out of Vera episodes. You know what it says to me, the AI? It says, hold on, you haven't seen all of them. There's more. You might not be able to see them in this place, but look at all these. It showed me a bunch that I had missed. Are you joking? Are you joking? That is so cool. That's so cool. So, hearing about AI, are you worried on it, Ted? Don't worry, honey. Don't worry. Because here's the thing. We're not going to worry about anything. We're just going to let her rip. We already know how to beat evil. So we just have to keep our eye on it, see which one. We know it's coming. Evil's always coming. It's what direction is it coming from? And how far off is it? How much time? Do you have time for a sandwich? Because if you don't, then we know how to beat it, right? So there's no reason to worry about it. So here's the thing. CBS Mysteries blew my mind. I found this guy. There's a great story that goes with our topic tonight. Why do they stay? My big thing isn't so much why they stay, because that's an individual story to me. Just like anything else in this, if there's a haunting, if there's a ghost, if it's an actual ghost, an intelligent ghost that can communicate, or at least we can communicate telepathically via, I don't care how many different things you have to go through, a couple mediums, a psychic, extra small, it doesn't matter. do whatever you got to do for that case, for that specific person, because it's a person. But if we can sort it even more and get people to understand and go at it in a different way. And yes, we're talking about, it's just ghosts. It's ghosts. No, there's different types of ghosts. There's different settings in ghosts. And no matter how much we talk about it, everywhere I go, and I'll get to the comments in just a minute, but I want to get this part out. I don't want anybody to think I'm ignoring you. So the thing is if we look at it in a different way, we see it in a different way. If we truly do. And if we talk about it together, we can get other people's viewpoints. We go, hey, you know what? I never thought of it like that. So if you're an investigator, if you're just somebody who's looking into trying to sort it all and try to figure out whatever your specific interest is in the paranormal, supernatural, metaphysical, if you're just trying to get answers because things have happened to you, this is how you go about it. You dissect other cases, you dissect other people's experiences, you go back over it, you try to learn more, you go in and investigate and try to learn from the investigation and such. Somebody asked a question the other day on something I was watching, and they said, why are you investigating? Because why are you investigating is going to have a whole effect on, whether you're investigating actual going to a property, or if you're investigating doing research or whatever it may be. Doing this kind of thing, cozy combo with a cuppa and, maybe some light snacks, maybe heavy snacks, nobody's judging, and talking about this kind of stuff. So if I get somebody like Bryce Bond, this wasn't a guy who put it out there. He wasn't like a Hans Holzer. He didn't write 120 books, but he did give interviews where he could. Anybody that's ever worked with him in his other jobs knew him as a family member, worked with him in the paranormal, supernatural, always had great things to say. Him, and his integrity was never in question. Now, when you read the transcript and you go back in the 1970s and you think about how some of these people spoke, it can be almost comical because, and you're going to get to hear a little piece of it, but it's not just the actors acting and they're being very over dramatic, they're just the way they're speaking and the way they pause and the way, Bryce was like that because he was an actor and he was a radio host and he was, very much like that. Who was that one guy? He has a big pompadour hair. I mean, he was an announcer for so many things, and that's what he was. He was an announcer, Gary the announcer, or something like that. They used to call him. I forget what he was on. It might have been Merv Griffin. Might have been Merv Griffin or a couple of different ones, but I don't expect you to remember. But anyway, he used to always put his finger on his ear like this, and he would hold his microphone. It was like, welcome to and now we're ready. Here's the show, that kind of thing. It's very overdramatic, very bright and colorful, and, whether you're just speaking behind a microphone or whatever. So that's fun, but that's how he was. But his integrity, without question. And he would go into a situation, he would sort it. He had some abilities, very light. He had very good friends that had seasoned over time and trusted over time and got to really be able to work with these people. And they had abilities and they found a way to all work together, just like any great team, right? So when they threw this up on CBS Mystery, it opened up a lot of other doors for my investigations and my research. So there's that. So before we get started on the rest, we also am I muted? My back? Must hit the button. See, hands up. I'm not hitting any buttons. So the rest of it is the different reasons. And why are we going over this again and putting ghosts? Because it has to do with investigations, has to do with understanding the cases, has to do with easing your mind in troubled times when you're trying to sort this kind of thing and you don't have the time to watch 10 stories that tell you, yes, it is how you think. You are. Thanks, baby. Thanks, Henry. How you doing, Henry? It's good to see you, baby. You knowledge is power, you know, and experience, along with obtaining that knowledge, although hard and rocky it may be, but that best knowledge comes that way. um, the better we can help other people too as light workers to understand. And it's like Ted and I were saying just a second ago. And I get what you're saying, Ted. I totally get it. You're sick hearing about it, and in a lot of ways I am too. But I'm interested in knowing and keeping my eye on it for these reasons. I have a lot of respect for Bill Bean, and I've known him for many, many years, and I've seen him save many, many people that were in very, very dark places. And I'm using those words twice because I really, really mean it, you know. So I kind of have to, you know what I mean? So, and in the other words, and the good side of it, it's kind of like, paranormal is good and bad, and everything in between. It's very helpful because look, when you're close to being done binge watching something that has, really helped you chill and help you kind of ground a little bit, because it just takes you away and it's so different and so original, and it's not anything hectic and crazy and nutbag, but it makes you think, and it helps you keep your deductive reasoning sharp and all those things, and you're about to be done with it. It's not going to do those things anymore. So you have to have something that's going to replace that. Sometimes it can be hard to find. You have to go through a lot of duds before, kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince, baby. So young whippersnappers are using AI to create businesses and make money and do their thesis and write 8 novels in a weekend and all that kind of stuff, and just make buku hand over. I'm gonna use it to help me find my new binge adventure. See what I'm saying? So there's that. It's also helping us to understand how not to become a ghost. We've done that a lot on this show too. Empty your pockets, fix all those loose ends, handle your finish your business. So what does that mean? Ghost stays for unfinished business. And that's what started this whole episode. Unfinished business. What does that mean? Such a broad brush. I don't want anybody to get stuck in the muck and mire and the swamp of complacency when it comes to ghosts, hauntings, paranormal, supernatural, any of that. Here's why. If you just convince yourself that, that ghost is just here for unfinished business, he must have, he must be looking for insurance papers, you must be doing this, or you must be doing that. You're already filling in the blanks of why is the haunting happening in the first place. You're already starting to fill in all those blanks. You're already starting to, it must be Jim, because Jim fell down the stairs and broke his neck in, 1926. And oh my God, that's the same staircase. It's a Lily Bell who died of scarlet fever in the bedroom upstairs. And that's why, we can't keep a dog, because she never liked dogs, and that's just a rumor that was just made up out of nowhere. No, you've got this horrible thing living in your basement, and it's killing the dogs because the dogs are sensitive. Do you see where I'm going? Because dogs are sensitive to this, and it's an easy way for it to gain energy by causing so much trauma and pain in the household. And when it's done with that, it's going to come after you. Or insert your story here. It's not Lily Bell. Lily Bell crossed over. You see? So we don't want to fill in those holes. We don't want to fill them because it's convenient. We have to go, it could be this. Let's put that in there. And if something else comes along, I'm going to be open to that, because it could be that too. It's an individual basis. It's not only individual to the ghost, it's individual to the person, that the living person that the ghost is connected to, or communicating to, or involved with, or bumped into, or whatever words you want to put. Does that make sense? So it's your energy, it's their energy, it's a combination, it's the property, it's the curse, the lack of a curse. It's 10,000 different things. So when people come in and they just say, this is it, This is what happens, and this is why. All ghosts stay because of blank. All people who say that are blank. No, I don't mean to. I'm not trying to. This is just my opinion, but I know different. And if you've been in this 30, 40 years, how do you not know? Why are you still saying that it's this, and this? Well, look, it's all theory anyway, but it just doesn't match up to the majority of the evidence and the facts. And at this point in time, with AI, with CGI, with fakery and BS, and people willing to sell their soul to the devil for a nickel at this point, and God knows what else. I've seen it. I just can't even believe it. I've seen people give up their whole family because they weren't any influence on their social channel and weren't going to get them any more followers, so they were irrelevant to them. In some ways, human psyche has really shifted in the past 20 years. So things are affecting everything differently. We are no longer a group of people who everybody stays at home and watch MASH on Fridays. You see what I mean? And then go to school Monday and talk about it, or the game on Sunday. Makes sense? Okay. So, Kat, I sent you a link. If you want to share that over to Ted, I'd appreciate that extra help. It's over on your messenger. So what that is the link to the CBS mystery that I have on my channel. It's going to go with tonight's stuff. So let me get through these. If anybody's got a question or an idea or anything on tonight, go ahead and throw it up now. And I'm going to try to catch some of these. LL, I see you dropping a lot of stuff, so I'm going to try to catch it. Okay. Hey, Mayhem. All right. Let's see. No kickball for me. You're not playing kickball right now, Mayhem? Henry, like I said, it's good to see you, babe. Kat, thanks for being here. LL, okay. I see you. Oh, hey, PETA, is that you? LL, is PETA? Oh, man, that is wild, because 2 days ago, I promise you, it's going to blow your mind. And I'm not saying there's any kind of connection or anything else, but sometimes when I'm cleaning, my mind gets open. I think it's another form of grounding, washing dishes, scrubbing walls, you see something, all of a sudden you start getting crazy and you start scrubbing, your bathroom wallpaper, whatever it may be. So I was in one of these moods, and all of a sudden you popped into my head, and I'm like, man, I haven't seen PETA for the longest time. And, I refuse to say PETA, because you always came through that way to me, just this lovely energy. So anyway, I was thinking of you, babe, but I was scrubbing my bathroom, and I don't know what that means, but I just, you popped into my head out of nowhere. I'm looking at my wallpaper, and it's just, I didn't pick this. This is the landlord before. And it's kind of nice. I mean, at one point in time, you'd probably said it was a higher end, elegant kind of wallpaper. It's just on one wall now. Kind of highlights the room, but it's a real pretty, like, hunter green, and the hunter green, it's striped, and it's like on that cream marble paper, but it's a hunter green stripe. It's got gold stripes in there that are, like gold lame and all that kind of stuff. It's just wallpaper. But I was looking at that, and for some reason, all of a sudden, your pseudonym popped into my head, and I went, man, I haven't seen you in a long time. It's good to see you. And if I misunderstood that comment, never mind. AI is going to be the true downfall of humankind. It might very well be. Who knows? You know what? I'm not here to tell you. I didn't like those damn little vacuums. I thought they're creepy as hell. Saw one escape a house the other day. A Roomba? Is it Roombas? Whatever. I think that people keep taking videos of the cats, riding around. I got one of a possum, and I think I've got one of a cat too. At least one. Maybe a raccoon as well. On those Roomba vacuums, but I don't trust them. Anything to get it? No. Something creepy about it. But I thought that was so funny, that one that escaped the house because they caught it on CCTV, and it went out the door, down the porch, and the CCTV caught it going down the sidewalk. This freaking Roomba vacuum. It's like, that's funny. They found it after the fact. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. All right. So, Vixen, what are you saying, sweetie? How you been? Good. Renice, good to see you. Good to see you. Let me see who else. Okay. I think I said hi to everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. It's good to have you here. Please follow us over on Rumble as well. We show movies over on Tuesday night. I have not picked the movie for Tuesday night yet. Maybe by tomorrow night I'll know. But we are doing vampires. This is Bite Me Summer. And we're trying to get the most out of it we can. I think we're going to probably do Night Flyer. Ted, you don't have that one, do you, honey? Does anybody have that one? Trying to find a good clear copy of that because it's very dark and deep. It does get into a little bit more of how it affect modern modern times, a small town kind of thing. It's got a little feel of Salem's Lot kind of in there because it is a king, but it's very well done. And when I read the story, it was a short story and I forget what novella it was, but it really blew me away. There's a couple scenes in there that I just almost had to throw the book, which I loved. I might throw the book, but I'd run over and pick it back up. Couldn't wait to see what's going to happen next. So I'm not sure about that, but get over there and follow us on Rumble. We are demonetized on YouTube. So if you want to drop a tip, you can drop it over there in a Rumble rant. Mods on my Rumble. If you see that, please let me know because I do not see it on the screen I'm looking at here. It's on my screen over here, and that screen is about that big. So I don't get to see it. Rumble doesn't hold it very long, and they do not share the rants to the StreamYard. And I don't care if it's, I think the lowest you can go is $1. I think it's $1. I was going to say 50 cents, but I think it's $1. I don't know if it's $1 or what. I don't want to miss it. I want to thank that person because all the tips go right in the tip jar. You can also do my PayPal. You can go on my TeePublic. You can grab a t-shirt, a mug. I've got the travel mugs, really cool. I've got several of the hoodies. They're great. And I'll tell you what, man, that extra nice quality hoodie, the extra thick one, I got one for Christmas. My birthday, I can't remember, but man, it is a difference. They're extra thick, they're extra soft, they're really, really nice. But all the hoodies and the t-shirts, I get good compliments back on that. And grab a sticker. It goes right back to the show. And we're doing, like I said, free movies on Tuesday. That's only on Rumble because we can only show them on Rumble. We do not make any money for that. We're not doing it for the money. We're dropping movies where we can learn something or at least be really entertained by the subject that we're doing at the time. So we did an awful lot of ghosts, and we'll go back to those. Many movies, like Sixth Sense. We've done Time of Their Lives, one of my favorite Abbott Costello ghost movies. We've done so many. We've done Nefarious. Have we done The Ravine yet? Surely we've done The Ravine. Haven't we? Have we done that? Because, I'll show that and stop commercials if I have to use a YouTube one on that one. But man, that's a good movie. I hope we have. I'll have to go back and check. But we try to do something that's going to teach us something about this. And thank you, Henry. I've got a few of them myself. Thank you very much, my darling. And so anyway, that's that. You don't want to miss out on that. I'm working on some other things. Whatever, everything shifts around me so much. So it's real hard to do all the things that I have planned, but they're still there. So we're going to work on those. So tonight, I think this is very interesting. So I'm going to drop this and get us started. What makes a ghost cling to our world? Emotional anchors. Think about it. Emotional anchors. It's a big, broad brush, but it's a worthy broad brush because there's a lot of emotions and they're not the same for everybody. They don't hold the same weight for everybody. They don't hold the same drag for everybody. Let's think of, Jacob Marley coming to see old Scrooge covered in chains, forged in, by him throughout his life. These heavy chains, these boxes of, we don't know what's in the boxes, but we assume they're heavy. They're almost like counting boxes. And this is all he worried about was money, 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 business, business, business. He had no heart. He said humanity was my business. So that weighed very heavy on him. But I'm sure there was a lot more of emotions attached to that. We don't know what his childhood was like. We don't know how he was raised. We don't know. We don't have a lot of backstory on him, at least not in that novel. So we can't really judge. It's like, oh, like you'll see somebody that, goes through something you went through yesterday and you reacted completely different than they did. Same thing, same scenario. Maybe somebody stole your parking spot, and you were upset by it, but you just went on, you got the next one, and you even stood in line behind the person who stole your car. And maybe you had to almost make eye contact with this person, who probably doesn't know you from Adam, but we all go through those kind of little things, those little coincidence things, right? And then you see somebody the next day, the very same thing happens to them, but it goes completely different. Maybe somebody gets out, pulls somebody out of a car, whoops their butt in the parking lot. Maybe the cops have to show up. Maybe somebody goes nuts and hits it with a shopping cart and it just escalates and somebody has to break it up. You don't know. Everything's going to go to ripples, action, reaction, and ripples. This happens for ghosts as well. They're going to act differently to the same situations. And you also don't know how they're thinking. What frame of mind were they in when they passed? What frame of mind are they in now? How long has it been? Has it been, an hour? Has it been 1,000 years? You sent me a link, Ted. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, sweetheart. All right. So that's basically what I'm saying. It's like, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's let it breathe a little bit. I sent you a ghost, Ted, but it erased your name, but that little ghost was for you. We don't want to jump to conclusions. That's the biggest thing in this. And we also don't want to miss any clues. And by looking at these stories and everything else, we're really getting a lot of clues. The bacon meme. The bacon meme. Hey, Conflict. How you doing, sweetheart? Yeah, it's good to see you. I didn't see you slide in here. Let me see. Well, like I said, different. It's different. And you also don't know the answer to that question. You really don't. Because, again, we don't want to jump to conclusions. If I was here and I you see what I mean? You'd be surprised when you go and you speak to mediums who really know what they're doing, to psychics and people that understand and have really honed their craft well. Someone like an Echo Bodine, who we were so lucky a couple of weeks ago to see her going through Bob Mackey's, remember? Beautiful blonde. Her brother also is very talented. He's got a little bit more chip on his shoulder, but she's fantastic, and she's all about teaching young people and helping you understand this. So Echo Bodine has a great website as well. So if you had somebody like that and you're sitting around going, well, this person, I know this person crossed over because I never saw them. I know this person left quick because nobody ever heard or saw them anywhere, or in the house, or where I think that they would be, in the barn where he always was, or in their car they always rode, or on their boat that they love so much fishing. We never see him, so we know he's no, you don't. Nope. We can't assume we know anything unless you've gone through quite a few people that probably don't know each other, that don't know a lot of background that you have, know somebody that has, that all of the questions. They shouldn't know your background, and they can give you specific details and say, no, honey, she didn't. She hung for 10, 15 years and she was over here. Or no, he didn't. He stayed back. He actually was hanging around such and such. It was a friend of his from high school, or blah, blah, blah. Insert your story here. But we don't know, and it's very hard for us to say definitively, because personally, I happen to know the person, that you're talking about. And I was surprised how she came through, and you and I have talked about that. So it's not. And how we feel about it doesn't necessarily mean how they feel about it. Because I've had a lot of personal, very close situations that came through where I thought that person that had crossed over felt a certain way and came back from, whoa, totally surprised. So we never know. You never know. You have to go through all the steps, and we can't assume a thing. We can't assume a thing. Because especially if we're emotionally attached to the situation, it just causes pain. If you could get yourself and, anguish and thinking and what ifs and this, that, and the other thing is what it is. Here's the thing. Their journey, your journey. You are not responsible for somebody else's journey. You can talk to them. You can help them along the way. You can walk with them. You can get in front of them and call them. You can get behind them and go, don't go too fast. You can do whatever. You can advise all you want, but you're not responsible for that person's journey. Unless you're a parent, of course, you're responsible for that young person's journey to a certain point till they start walking on their own, much like teaching them to ride a bike with training wheels. At some point, you let go and you stand back and you advise and you hope and you pray and you wish and you love and you fix and you bandage and you pick up, you encourage and you love and you forgive. But it's their journey. How it affects us and what we do with it is our business. You cannot change other people and what they do, and you cannot control what they do, only how you react to it. It's true. Same thing as the parking space. Every fiber of your being might want to get out and just absolutely pound that son of a gun. Just because. And you're assuming they knew you wanted it. They could be in their world, and this day and age, I would highly, the percentage is pretty high about that. They could be in their world, don't even know you exist, didn't even see your car. But you're already assuming that they knew it was yours and they took it from you on purpose and just jumped in before you. You see what I mean? So again, we can't assume. And I'm not saying this because I'm so good at this and all this and I don't mess up and I don't have to think about it. I'm an old broad and I have to think about this all the time. Don't get out of the car. Don't get out of the car. Play the tape out. You get out of the car, you're as soon as you're going to go off. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Why didn't this person do this? Why did this person pass and not come see me? Why did they come see her and not me? Are you kidding? Well, honey, maybe you weren't vibing at the right frequency to see them. Maybe they didn't need to see you. Maybe they knew if they said what they needed to say, you wouldn't hear it, or you would have heard it wrong, or you would have took it the wrong way, or would it have affected you and your choices at that time in your life. Maybe they were vibing on the frequency with that other person. I've had people come to me and say, the guy who runs the little corner grocery store has seen my dad, but he's never come to me. What the hell does that mean? I'm like, maybe he's just buying cigarettes and he's repeating something over and over again and has absolutely nothing to do. Maybe he doesn't know the path back to you yet. Maybe his frame of mind is vibing more with going to buying a pack of cigarettes or a pound of hamburger, whatever the hell they sold at that store, or newspaper, because that's what he did every morning for 35 years of his life. And his mind is only capable to repeat those tasks over and over again until something changes his vibration, his attention, his consciousness enough to go, whoa, I used to live here. I'm dead now. I'm going to go see my daughter. I bet she's at school and it's 30 years later and she's got multiple kids. And he's just trying to connect into the love frequency because he's dealing with his own thing and not been able to resonate on that love vibe yet, where you are. Instead of going, maybe that person is not ready to vibe where you're vibing. Happens all the time in life. Why wouldn't it proceed in death? I'm just spitballing. But I see it all the time. All right. Strong emotions like love, guilt, or anger can tether a spirit to a place or person. For example, a ghost might stay to protect a loved one. Nicely. Think about that. Isn't that nice? I bet he's over. Now they're an angel and they're watching over you and all this. We say it all the time. And we say it so much that it almost feels like it's lost how profound it is. But it's profound because it's true. It doesn't mean that everybody that's passed that you loved is doing that. Maybe not all of them are capable doing that. They're going through their own thing. And anybody that is mad at someone else that's passed and angry for whatever they think that they understand that went down at the time, whether it be, I have sat with people that were horribly abused by their fathers and continued to go back and forth, back, and I mean horribly abused, and trying to connect and sort that through other third parties, and they this person has crossed over, and somebody that would do that in life, and then you expect them in death to all of a sudden be all knowing and all forgiving and all capable of coming in and going, whoa, I was an asshole. I can't believe I did the things I did. You know, you and I did these things and I did those things and I did that stuff, and whoa, you know, not everybody's ready to do that. Just because you're ready to hear that after 5 years doesn't mean they're ready to say it. Doesn't mean they even know what you're talking about yet. Because if they were that kind of person living, they're going through so much on the other side to try to deal with what they did, to try to understand why they did it, to understand when they did it, the effect it had. It's a lot to go through, and everybody's different. And they might just have said, you know what, this is a big mess, and I opt to just go back through. So, bip, bop, bang, it happens. They got to come back through and try again. They have to learn. They've been told all the stuff they did wrong. Go back and you can do this. You can do these things. Maybe you can go over here and you can teach these people why they shouldn't be doing whatever's happening. Free will. And they might not be ready to come back and talk to you. And I can tell you this too, that if you are mad at someone who's passed, you are blocking. I've seen it time and time again. Does somebody sit there? Why won't he come and talk to me? Why won't she come and see me? Because every emotion you have when you think about that person is anger, is pissed, is, again, we weren't there in the moment, whatever that moment may be. And although we were standing on the outside and we think we saw everything, you didn't. You didn't see inside. You didn't see why that person made those choices. You didn't see if they were supposed to make those choices, because you two were on the other side and said, you know what, you're going to make those choices. And then you're going to do your thing. And then I'm going to have to go through my thing. And I'm going to forgive you now for that. And you're going to forgive me for that, because we jumped back in here to go through that together. And it's going to be so cool. We're not going to remember we made this bond, but we're going to knock out so much stuff that we have to go through. It's going to be like 5 lifetimes in one, and we're going to do it together. And I'm going to hate your guts because you're going to do all this terrible stuff to me, but it's going to cause me to do this, this, and this. And then I'm going to become a counselor, and I'm going to be able to talk from a podium of experience and look at, I got through it, so you can too, kind of stuff, and motivational speaking. And I'm going to save 100 people. And then they're going to go out and save 100 people apiece. And so on and so on and so on. Because I let you beat the shit out of me in this lifetime. And I love you for it. That is a high vibration to achieve. And I don't think that many people can achieve it. Not even me. I'm just saying. I'm saying it. And I'm telling you, I can't. It's a struggle, baby. You know, to remember that. Oh, that person made me so mad. Oh, that person did that. Holy mackerel. What a piece of living shit they were. What a horrible choice for a father. What a horrible boy. I couldn't have done any worse if I was raised by wolves. And then you get on the other side. And they're sitting there going, that was a good one. We really put our all into that. I bet you hated me. I'm glad we agreed to forgive each other now. Because until you do that, strong emotions like love, guilt, or anger can tether a spirit to a place or person. For example, a ghost might stay to protect a loved one or seek justice. That's a little different. Think about it. Why do some ghosts pass, being brutally murdered and crossed right over and come back 6 months later through some communication, or medium, or whatever it may be, and let their loved ones or somebody know that they're fine, and to stop worrying about it and stop obsessing over it and stop letting it consume your life and go and live and love and be all the things you're supposed to be and know I am okay and I love you. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Yet some come back and go, you got to get that guy. Because if you dig into it, sometimes when you dig into it and you go, that person, once that person stopped, because they can see a little more, not complete, they didn't cross over, but they're getting a little bit. I can't explain it, but they seem to get a little bit of it, a little taste. You're in the in-between. And you can kind of see he's going to do it again. He's planning on doing it right now. I got to get somebody to listen to me, or he's going to do what he did to me to somebody else. I've seen them take the approach of going after the person that was going to be the victim and trying to stop them from being caught up in it. I've seen them go to mediums. I've seen them do both, a combination of those things. Seen a lot of different things, warnings in all kinds of ways. But why and who gets to make that choice? The individual that's going through it, which is why I told that, we all got together in a group to try to tell this woman, you have to deal with your issue with your dad here, now, immediately. Forgive him. You don't have to forget. You can learn from it. You can do this or that, but you weren't in the room. You weren't in the moment. You weren't in the headspace. You weren't in the psychological combination of the cacophony, the confusion, the regret, the weariness, the danger, the pain, whatever it may be, that caused that person, the trauma, the PTSD, the chemical imbalance, the medication they were taking, whatever. At that moment, when they hit the tree, when they took the pill, when they pulled the trigger, whatever, jumped off the bridge, or took other people with them, whatever they did. And we can look at that person here and go, that person doesn't need to be out and, like these people that go wackadoo nuts and do bad things off the streets, can't be out in public, every case is taken one at a time, and we sort it. And you have a lot of psychologists and people sitting around going, that person probably not even fit for trial. They're not understanding. They're out of it. So they go to a different place. They go get mental, treatment. People that come back and go, yeah, let me out. I'll do it again. You bet. I feel nothing. Can't wait. I did it for fame. I did it for this. I did it. She made me mad. I went off. I'll do it again. Well, they go to a different place, in prison. Back in the days, to put people on islands. Again, the dead are no different than the living. And all I'm saying is, if you want to make it easier on your journey, the more you understand about this, the more you can kick back. We're all going to get caught up on a Monday. We're all going to get caught up and, want to get out and pull that person right through their window because they cut you off in traffic, or you saw them do it to somebody else that might be a little less able to stick up for themselves, or whatever it may be. Whatever ticks you off, right? More feelings that you have like that, and the more you act on those things, the more rocks you put in your pocket. The more you look back and go, look, I don't want to be around that person. I don't have anything to do with that person. but I can't judge that person. I can judge the fact that I don't want to be around them. But other than that, I can't say why they did that. I can see how it appeared to me, but things aren't always as they appear. And if you take that approach, some of these things might be a little easier. You don't have to keep taking the crap if it's somebody you're dealing with that's alive now. We did that last week. You don't have to connect into that. But you can't tell me you know exactly why they're doing everything they're doing. Because most of us can't say why we're doing what we're doing. Take that into consideration. So can love or hate be so strong it defies death? I would say the large consensus in the chat is going to be a yes. Mine is a yes. Throw yours down in the chat if you like. Unresolved identity or legacy. I found this interesting. So dug around a little bit. Some ghosts seem to communicate to ensure their story isn't forgotten. Great way of looking at this. Think about that. You've got stories like the Enfield ghost. We're not really sure what caused that, what kicked it off, what I don't know what was going on there. I'll tell you, every time I bring it up, I tell you guys, that whole case just freaks me out. From the guy with the mustache, the girls flying around the room, the raspy voice coming out of the girl's throat, and all those other things. And I know what what I'm looking at is all possible in the paranormal, supernatural, metaphysical, yet something's off. And I don't know if it's a damn David Soul poster on the wall in every one of these pictures or what, but the whole point of it was this ghost named Bill Withers or Bill Weathers or something like that. And he was saying, I died in the chair that's down in the basement. I died in this house. I lived here. Did the girl have, abilities? Was it easier for him to, use her throat and speak through her? The case, the ghost with the knife with Bryce, Bryce, same thing. He and his photographer had the ability to be a trance medium and speak through, so channeling others' voice. So it's very cruel. Again, we could guess, Ted, but we don't know. We don't know. I mean, it's highly possible for human ghosts and spirits to do that. I don't see anything about it that would tell me definitively one way or the other on that. I'd have to feel it, but there was something weird about that. And I still say it could be coming from the poster. Not swearing to it, but it's possible. But its whole purpose seemed to be just so he would not be forgotten and he would be remembered. That's the whole thing. Every communication that he had that came through seemed to be that. So fits into this. So some ghosts seem to communicate to ensure their story isn't forgotten. This could stem from a fear of oblivion or a need to correct historical wrongs. So many different movies and so many different stories I could name on this, but the time of their lives. Very good example of that. Abbott and Costello, as it may be, they got that movie right. Somebody knew what they were talking about with ghosts and the paranormal when they made that movie. 1938 or 40, early 40s, I believe. And that one was, they had been cursed and they were called treasonous and they were lied about, and they had not committed treason. They had not been gone against George Washington and the people that cursed them to that property totally got it wrong, and they weren't given up until their name was cleared. And that's a very big part of a lot of hauntings and ghosts. I think, like I said before, I would say like the biggest number one thing is fear of what's on the other side, either by oppression, by, getting the wrong information about spirituality or religion or this or that, or a bit of bad cat, and just don't even want to chance it. Plenty of that going on. But this right here is not as small as you would think it is. A lot of ghosts care about what you think of them. You know what I mean? Which is why I'm always harping on, don't just assume it's Tom, because if it's Sam or Betty, we're already starting off wrong here, so let's just sort it out. And again, if come through an EVP and say, my name is Betty, well, then fine, call him Betty. But that doesn't mean it's Betty, you know, because Ted's right. It could be anything until you know. Now again, I trust my filters great. There's no way I'm sitting in a room and one of those bastards is going up. They're coming before they get there, Ted. I'm telling you. And there's no way anything that evil could come through as love. It could change your mind. It could make you think you're seeing something else. It could make you feel something to a certain degree, but there's no way absolute darkness can come off as absolute light. That's my stance, and I'm sticking to it. Nothing in my life that I've ever experienced or ever gone through, read about, researched, or experienced with or without other people has told me different on that, because you can feel both way before it gets there, in my experience, with my abilities, with however small that may be, or large, extra small, extra medium, doesn't matter. Everybody's got it. It's like you're at a party in a room and some bloke walks through the door and you feel it before you ever turn around, and it's different. The whole atmosphere in the room changes. That can go good, it can go bad, but it changes. It changes. The frequency changes. Now, I have seen dark things. We talked about it last weekend. Not even human ghosts have the ability, we talked about this, to manifest, make you think you're seeing things that you're not seeing and things like that. But all the things at once, is kind of like there's always something off. It's like something's not right. Something's not right. I think that's grandma, but I don't remember grandma having a tail. That kind of stuff. Okay. Here's one of my favorites. Hans Holzler, a prominent paranormal investigator, he's one of my favorites, often discussed ghosts as human spirits trapped by unresolved emotions. Okay. Unresolved emotions to me is different than unfinished business. Do you agree? Okay. Suggesting they seek acknowledgement to resolve their issues. His work emphasizes that a sympathetic approach can encourage ghostly manifestations, indicating a need for recognition. Let me say that again. His work emphasizes that a sympathetic approach, what vibration is that on? Where's that coming from? Sympathetic, light or dark? Think about it. Pretty high up on, above that line there, that line we're trying to stay above. So what are you drawing? Okay, think about it. His work emphasizes that a sympathetic approach can encourage ghostly manifestations, indicating a need for recognition. I just want to be recognized. I'm Bill. I used to live here. I died in the chair that's in the basement. I'm coming through these little girls because nobody listened to me in life. Nobody's listening to me now. And I found this little trick I can do, and I'm finally getting attention, and I got some things to say, even though I'm struggling to say them. And again, so many times we've talked about why is it so hard for them to get their message out. Everyone's different, and we don't know what they know how to do or what their abilities are. Or maybe it's you. Maybe you're not picking that up. Think about that. You have to have two receivers. Maybe the batteries in your walkie-talkie are dead. He's pushing the button over, come through. And you're like, I don't know why they don't contact me. Well, you're not even on the right channel, honey. And your thing's off and your batteries are dead. Fix your walkie-talkie before you start saying they're not even trying to call me. They're not even trying to get a hold of me. You know what I mean? I'm making up a story so you can visualize what I'm trying to put down here, because so many people seem to have a hard time with that. I talk to people all the time that go and help other people, that have been in this a long time, that in their own house, in their own life, in their own bloodline, in their own families, can't get this point. Hating someone else is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. You're only hurting you. As soon as you let go, as soon as you forgive, as soon as you start doing, you don't have to do anything nice for that person. Do something nice for somebody else. Do something nice for you. Do something nice, do something right. Learn from it and go teach others. Like the story I told earlier. These are just suggestions. These are just things I have learned in my lifetime, and you'd be hard pressed to change my mind on any of that because I've seen it. I've been there. I've looked at, clouds from both sides now, baby, and still somehow. It's life's illusions, I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Okay, so I totally agree with Hans. I usually do. Now, here are 3 quotes from Hans Holzer's books that illustrate his perspective on ghosts seeking acknowledgement. Ghosts are people haunted by unhappy memories. Love that. And incapable of escaping by themselves, listen closely, from the vicious net of emotional entanglements. Profound. Ghosts are people haunted by unhappy memories and incapable of escaping by themselves from the vicious net of emotional entanglements. If we could just get that point down. Okay. Vicious entanglements, unable by themselves to escape that. Why are you kicking in the door and going, "Hey, is anybody in this basement? You better tap this thing and come over here and move this over here and do these things and who are you?" And what is that going to do for the entanglement? What is that vibration going to do? Everything is going to get structured and get worse and twisted. They might kick over a can or flip a table or slam a door. What did it get? What did it gain the humanity in that room? The human that is alive and the human that is dead. What did humanity gain in that? See what I mean? The sympathetic, the understanding, not jumping to conclusions, not going in with false intent. I'm just here I'm just here for the bangs and the booms. And I said bangs and booms, not be careful. Okay? Love that. A sympathetic visitor would encourage it. A hostile onlooker inhibit it. Think on that. They could very well, Ted. They could very well. And I agree with that on multiple levels. I do. However, we have tools. Okay. Ghosts are people, or part of people anyway, and thus governed by emotional stimuli. They do not perform like trained circus animals. Thank you for that. Just to please a group of skeptics or sensation seekers. Then, too, one should remember that an apparition is really a reenactment of an early emotional experience. Now, what does he mean by that? A reenactment of an emotional. I don't think he means here. Now, I could be wrong. If Hans was sitting next to me, and he could very well be, but I'm pretty sure he's off ballroom dancing somewhere in some new shoes. But I don't think he means here a reenactment as far as we would consider a reoccurring or residual or anything like that. I think there's something totally different. I think it means the ghost is reenacting this emotional baggage itself, him or herself. That's what I think it means. So then, too, one should remember that an apparition is really a reenactment of an earlier emotional experience, okay? And rather a personal matter. And rather a personal matter is what reinforces what I just said to me. This is how I believe. Reading all the Hans that I've read, talking to his daughter, trying to understand the man as a living person and as a ghost, as a visiting spirit. That's where I'm at with that quote. And I love it. And this is where he put in a sympathetic visitor would encourage it, meaning you're a part of a team that's going in and you're being sympathetic and you're giving space and you're not assuming anything and you're being polite and you're being caring and your intent is in place and your vibration is good, you might have a better chance at helping this ghost and going and kicking in the door and bang on this table for me 3 times kind of deal. Just saying. There's a lot of stuff in between. Those are the 2 extremes, but you get it. All right. So, yeah. So this expands on the idea that ghosts are driven by emotions and that acknowledgement from a sympathetic observer is crucial for their manifestation. Love that. Crucial for their manifestation. Crucial. This is coming from Hans Holzer spent multiple decades and 120 something books, I believe. I think it is. Yes, it is. Hans Holzer, 1920 to 2009, was an American writer and parapsychologist known for his extensive work on the supernatural phenomena. Authoring over 120 books on ghosts, hauntings, and the afterlife, his investigations, such as the famous Amityville horror case, often involved mediums and focused on understanding the emotional and psychological states of spirits. Holzer's approach was grounded in the belief that ghosts are human spirits, often trapped by unresolved emotional issues. Often trapped. Often, not always. Okay. Which aligns with the idea that they seek acknowledgement or resolution from the living. All that information was retrieved from 2 of his books, those quotes rather. The groundbreaking classic of paranormal investigation and chilling tales of real-life hauntings. I highly recommend both of those. Now this one, don't laugh at me. Are you laughing at me? I wouldn't blame you. All right, so this one, I have to say some Japanese words here, and it's going to be awful. But it was so perfect, so I had to bring it. In Japanese folklore, the tale of Iowa from Yotsuya Kaiden, the ghost story of Yotsuya, is a classic example. Iowa, a betrayed wife poisoned by her husband, returns as a vengeful ghost on Ruyo to seek acknowledgement of her suffering. Her spirit haunts her husband, appearing in mirrors and dreams, demanding recognition of her wrongful death. Now, there's multiple stories like this, isn't so many, hundreds over the years I've heard. This story, rooted in the Edo period theater, illustrates how spirits can linger to assert their identity and demand justice. So there's a little cultural jump for you. Oddly enough, it's still almost a beautiful picture, isn't it? I've always loved Japanese art. I've always felt like a connection to Japanese culture and so many things with the Japanese culture. If you really dig down deep into it, have so many similarities and roots with a lot of the Native American culture that I was exposed to, and very cool. But who knows? Maybe another life. Who knows? But then again, if you're talking about something like that, or you're talking about beliefs and what happens and what doesn't, and the other side and the afterlife and healing, with nature and herbal and, and philosophy and everything from warring to loving to living, it right is right, and not depleting nature and, do unto others and all that kind of stuff. It really has a lot of core rooted in so many different cultures. So we just exploit it and go crazy. Okay, here's a quick one. This is the Green Bar Ghost story. The story begins with Elva Zona. I want to say Hester. Let's just say Hester because I'm not sure if it's Hester or Hester, but I'm just going to say Hester. A young woman who married Edward Shue in 1897. Their marriage was troubled, with Edward known for abusive behavior. On January 23rd, 1897, Zona was found dead at the foot of the stairs in her home. Initially ruled a natural death due to stairs by a local doctor, possibly due to heart condition, which is something they just threw down on everybody. They didn't want to cut up, and what are you doing in 1897 for an autopsy anyway? I'm sure there was something, but heart condition. So many things say heart condition. I'm still on about the Secret Service guy who died at Camp David, but that's another story. So anyway, however, her mother, Mary Jane Hester, suspected foul play and began praying for the truth to be revealed. Prayer is very strong. Mary Jane claimed that Zona's ghost appeared to her in a dream, revealing that Edward had been abusive and had broken her neck in a fit of rage. The ghost demonstrated the manner of death by turning her head completely around, showing the injury. Armed with this supernatural information, Mary Jane convinced the local prosecutor to reopen the case, leading to Zona's body. Can you imagine? She got that done. To Zona's body being exhumed for a second autopsy. The autopsy confirmed that Zona's neck was broken and her windpipe crushed, consistent with manual strangulation, matching the ghost's account. Okay? The Greenbrier ghost story. Edward Shue was arrested, tried, and convicted of murder, sentenced to life in prison, where he died 4 years later in 1900. The case, known as the Greenbrier Ghost, became the famous example of ghostly intervention in solving a crime, with Zona's grave today a tourist attraction in West Virginia. And there it is, Zona Hester Shue, right there. And that is a perfect example of coming back to right or wrong, to point out a killer, to solve a crime. That is definitely unfinished business. But I think saying unfinished business is really a whitewash of so many important tasks that these human beings feel like they need to complete. And I think we've gotten so used to saying unfinished business, it's kind of got lackluster. You know what I'm saying? Because the dead speak, if only we listen. Absolutely. All right. So let's hit a clip. I have Want to Be Haunted. Which one? All right. This one. Another reason a ghost to stay back. So we've got so many different reasons. But again, I hope this helps kind of season what you're thinking about ghosts. So, rather than just, a little salt and pepper or, nothing at all, take nothing, right? Oh, that's the story you talked about. Oh, yeah, Kat, I remember. Yeah, it's something, isn't it? The other one I like a lot is, I told it not too long ago, so I'll make it really quick. A young lady, she works at the hospital. She got one of the orderlies to come and help fix her TV. And he was kind of creepy, but, she needed the TV fixed. It was back in the day when you had the old Zeniths with the tubes in the back. So he comes over. I'm not sure what went down, but he winds up hitting her, raping her, and then putting her body on a mattress, covering her with a bunch of stuff. And I think it was covered her with the mattress and some other stuff. And they set her on fire. It only burned a little bit. People were alerted to the fire. Nobody had any leads to what happened with her. She was friends with another lady who works at the hospital who happened to have some abilities. So she, just an acquaintance. They weren't real close friends. And this woman starts talking in her sleep. Now she's channeling the dead woman, and her husband's picking it up. They go to the cops. They pursue it. They go through a lot of BS to do it, to be listened to. And it winds up going to court. It was absolutely one of the court cases where, similar to this, the ghost solved her own murder and got the killer. So there's so many. I love those stories. So I'm thinking, gosh, there's so many. I don't want to get too off track here, but I'm going to stay in my lane. Okay, so let's pull one of these. This is going to be, I think this is the one. Let's try this one. It's Ghostly Encounters. It's a short ghost story. Somebody telling it in their own words. Which one is this? I've always had it. Let's not do him yet. I love that one, but I'm not ready for him yet. And this is too dark down here for me to tell. I think, is this the guy? All right. You never know. Never know what you're going to get with Sysco. Love this one. Okay. So we've seen this one about maybe 3 years ago. But this was short and sweet. I like it a lot because it was a young man. There's nothing about him that he grew up in, a very spiritual household, or an aunt that, helped guide him, seeing things as a kid. Or he just seems like a cold case to me. He just goes in and moves into this place and he starts seeing stuff. And it also goes a little bit with our one last week where ghosts manipulating their environment or bringing something from the non-physical to the physical, like maybe a handprint or footprint, like maybe snowy footprints or wet footprints. That's taking from the non-physical into the physical, or manifesting you to see it telepathically, hypnotically, whatever it may be. This is a good one, short and sweet. I like it a lot. I hope you do too.
But it doesn't quite explain the ominous presence that threatens Adam Kelly.
I'm a big believer. This is the first place I've lived in where anything's happened. I've lived in 3 places and nothing had happened in those other places. I wouldn't consider them haunted. The place I lived in now, I would consider haunted. There is something there.
Adam was a teenager when he moved into his new house. Like many teenagers, his life was music and good times, and Adam expected that to continue. What he didn't expect was that the house had another resident, one who had a very different idea of good times.
I live in an apartment above a department store in Port Elgin, Ontario. And as far as I know, the building that's there now is about, 50 years old. I moved into this place in May of 2004. And nothing really right off the bat, nothing really spooky happened right off the bat. But after a couple years, in 2006, I started noticing just little tiny things, like I'd hear feet shuffle across the floor when I was home by myself. You kind of look around, there's no one there, there's nothing around. Maybe like your name being called once or twice, just odd things like that. You see shadows a lot of the time out of the corner of your eye. You walk out of a room and you just think down the staircase there's someone standing there, and you look over and there's no one there. It was never terror, never like really horrified, but a little unnerved. That's a better word for it. Just like a little shaken up a little bit. And it always happened once it got dark outside. It was fine during the day. Nothing really happened during the day. But come nighttime when it was dark, that's when, I guess, the specter likes to come out, right? And those were the small experiences that first got my attention. I was brushing my teeth, looking in the mirror, and it was just a normal night. I was just getting ready for bed. Looking in the mirror, I thought I saw someone walk through my living room and into my kitchen, and it startled me because I was the only one in the house at the time. I was brushing my teeth, looking in the mirror, and it was just a normal night. I was just getting ready for bed. And I just saw what looked like a person walking through about a foot of the view of mirror and into the kitchen. And there wasn't much detail. It was just solid black. It wasn't transparent like what you hear in some tales. And it was really quick, and it startled me. When I turned around, I walked out of the bathroom and into the kitchen, and I was shocked to find there was no one there at all, which kind of startled me. No, there's no way anyone could have been in there. So, but I know what I had seen. That was pretty much the end of my night. That's when I just went to bed and was just like, no, I'm not staying up anymore, not right now. Left a pretty big impact on me. That was one of the first times where I'd actually like physically seen something. That throws you off a little bit. And then I would almost rather find someone in my house, you know what I mean? Sometimes, like, you see that, I'd rather actually walk into the kitchen and find someone there. Yeah, I got up the next morning, not really thinking about it too much. I wasn't thinking, ooh, I saw a ghost last night. I guess the path that whatever walked into my kitchen would have taken, some grease marks had appeared on my floor. And just pretty spooky stuff. It's probably about 3:30 in the morning. I'd been up for a while and I was thinking, all right, it's time to go to bed. I'm gonna hit the hay. And I stood up, and as I was walking over to the door, I felt something grab my arm. As soon as it grabbed my arm, I'm thinking to myself, is this really happening? Is there actually something grabbing my arm right now? And I found myself face to face with a figure that was solid. You can tell there was a head. You can tell there was shoulders. No features, solid black. You couldn't see through it at all. So I brought up my hand, my index finger, and I tried to see what it'd feel like. And when I touched it, there was nothing there. It sounded like my finger stopped. My finger just went right into this black mass of shape. And when my hand went into it, it just kind of turned off like an older TV would turn off. Just went from like corner to corner, and from each side of it just kind of went and was gone. And that's when I knew there was something in my house that was just beyond the beyond. The fact that it grabbed me, that's what really pushes me over the edge, is the fact that it can touch you. You always hear like, no, I can't touch you. Ghosts couldn't do anything. Ghosts couldn't grab onto you. Ghosts can't hurt you. The feeling of that thing grabbing onto you lets you know that it's there, and there's a good possibility that there's always going to be something there, no matter really where you live. I started to ask some of the people that had worked at the store and some of the people that lived in the area, was there an older building there at a time, or how long has this been open for? And it had been a department store since 1971. But before then, I had heard it was a garage, and I heard that there was a man killed there. I live in an apartment.
Totally forgot. Happy Father's Day to all you pops out there. Thanks, Woo. Hi, darling. How you doing? Happy Father's Day to you, baby. All right, back to the show. How'd to say it? One hell of a parade yesterday. I'm telling you what. I about lost my voice, whooping and hollering and jumping up and down. It was amazing. Happy birthday, Army. Hoorah, baby.
Above a department store, and it had been a department store since 1971. But before then, I had heard it was a garage, and I heard that there was a man killed there. A younger man named Ernie used to work there, and a car fell off a hoist and crushed him. So I started to think, well, like a mechanic or someone like that. When I heard that, I didn't put it together right away, but I started to think, black marks on the floor. It's like it was grease. It's like that type of grease doesn't wash off easy. I think he just takes advantage of having someone so active living on his old space. It's like, I'm a pretty energetic person. I think it knows that. It feeds off my personality and the way that I live. It just, I think it might even react with me, you know what I mean? It kind of knows like, oh, there's that crazy kid. It's just trying to hang out, I guess. One of the guys, yeah. But it definitely likes to hang out, especially with me.
Our experts tell us there seem to be two kinds of ghosts, those that appear to everyone and those that are attracted to a particular person for some reason. So Adam may be correct in his belief that the ghost likes to hang out with him because of his energy. Paranormal research reveals the deep attachment ghosts feel to the workplaces they die in. Violent deaths also tie spirits to the place where they died. Perhaps Ernie, the dead mechanic, continues to work on cars after his death. And perhaps the two actors who died in the theater are not wandering aimlessly, but rather are performing together in the afterlife.
Yeah, I would say that things I've seen in my apartment have definitely changed my life and my view on maybe not so much an afterlife, but energy still staying around, you know what I mean? The person's maybe impact that they've had on other people.
It is possible that they exist. I've seen enough to know, I guess you'd say, and it's, you know, as I say, it doesn't really scare me so much anymore. I'm just kind of like, it's just, you know, kind of there, and if it happens, it happens. And it's definitely, it makes it interesting.
Definitely does. I agree. I mean, how boring it would be if there was no questions, if there was no mystery, if there was no wonder. You know what I mean? So I agree. I love this music. Don't you just love the music? When you hear it, you just kind of like get into that. Oh man, we're gonna see a good story. Kelly's a good one too, but we're gonna wait on Kelly. Okay, so I also think that Peter, I'm just gonna keep calling you Peter. If that's okay, because that's the energy I get, you know, with everybody. Vixen, I love y'all so much, you know, Renice. And it's fun too how you can feel the energies coming in. You know, it's like sometimes when Froze comes in, it's like, did I miss Froze? Because I feel his energy. I know he's up here, but and he'll pop in and go, I'm listening, but I'm driving. But your energy is still there. You know what I mean? So anyway, um, the same is true. Um, I think for this. Okay, so in this case, it wasn't, the way he's telling it, it doesn't seem very traumatic or anything else. Put somebody else on that couch with the headphones, and you might have somebody screaming, jumping out a window. You don't know. Everybody reacts different. Think about the parking space getting taken, right? Everybody reacts different. Ghosts are going to react different. People are going to react different to the ghosts. So in this case, I would have to say the reason it stayed behind, we don't really have that answer. So based on the data given to us, you can kind of conclude that what I'm seeing and why I like this show so much and why I'm not so fond of the ones that over dramatize and the girl is telling you, sitting in the chair telling you, I saw what looked to be a male figure standing in my doorway of my bedroom. And you're watching it, and there's a demon in the closet breathing heavy, cold air coming out of its mouth, and one under the bed or something. You can't learn from that. You can't assess from it. She didn't say that, you know. So people who don't know better are going to look at that and go, oh, well, maybe it means this. No, what it means is they're trying to get more ratings, and people's tastes have changed, and if it bleeds, it leads. And because last year's show went to this level of scary, we got to do this. Even if they're not saying that, it doesn't matter. We're just going to add to it because we feel like it. That kind of crap. So this show, to me, and I'm wondering maybe for you as well, you'll hear that music, and that's why music's so important, when you'll hear this music and already your body just starts going, oh man, this is going to be nice. And it lulls you into a comforting kind of warm blanket ghost story where even though it's going to scare the crap out of you, you're still just, you're right there to hear it. Where the other stuff is kind of off-putting a little bit. If you're at that level, it's because you understand more. Your consciousness is understanding this subject even more. That's just me saying that. I mean, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's just me saying that and understanding that you're getting it. Because you're not just there for the scare. You're not there for, say a Saw movie versus Stir of Echoes, or even though Stir of Echoes was rough, it was rough in its own way for different reasons. And you're interested in understanding this because it affects you. It affects everybody. Nobody gets out of this alive. Some of us might get out a little easier, a little harder, and then where do you land? And how do you land? On your feet, on your head, on your heart, on your face, And if we can learn something from it, great. So this young man, excellent attitude, actually reminds me a little bit of our friend who was haunted by the little old man who set his curtains on fire, and he helped them cross over. You seen The Uninvited, Sysco? Yes, I have, baby, and I loved it. It was very, very good. So this guy seems to me like a little bit of what Hans was talking about, Holsler, when he said they're trapped in their own net of raveled emotions and what it knows. Because it seems to me the young man who was, assuming this is the guy that got crushed by the car, it's obviously somebody who worked in the garage when it was a garage at the time. Perhaps he sees, most of the time, he sees it as a garage. He's going about his business. He's doing different things. He's not residual. He's intelligent. He's changing. He changes the atmosphere. He changes appearances. Assuming it's the same one, because it could be two ghosts. He doesn't have to be the black mass as well. And the young man in overalls, leaving grease on the refrigerator, right? He's touching the refrigerator to think it's his refrigerator. Obviously, the refrigerator he had, if he did have one, was probably one of those old, 1950-ish big handle. You pull the big handle down the front of the refrigerator, pops up, the door comes open with a big old whoosh, that little metal thing with the ice cube that's got all the big ice all around it. You can't get it out. You got to chisel the metal ice tray out of there. Got to defrost the freezer, that kind of stuff. And I doubt it would have been there. So if he's touching a refrigerator, a modern refrigerator, in a place it shouldn't be when in his time, he's got to see a change in the atmosphere of what he's visualizing, and probably comes face to face with this kid every once in a while and goes, "Ooh, what's going on here?" Now, interesting enough, that brings me to the point and the closing out of our situation here. We didn't solve anything tonight, but we certainly had fun talking about it. At least I did. I enjoy the hell out of this. I can't believe anybody would sit around and want to talk back and forth with me about, anything, let alone me sitting here going, I've been doing this 50 years and I don't know shit. Here's some ideas, though. Here's theories I'm happy with. You might not agree with them. I don't expect you to, because if you hadn't gone through the experiences that I've gone through in the order that I've gone through them, you're probably not on the exact same level of consciousness I am, good or bad. And I'm certainly not on, higher vibrational beings, honey, when they come, it's just such a resonance of, we all have such a long way to go, even if you're just the bestest person, when I felt, when I just went, oh, okay, when I just went, I give up. But I don't give up. I'm just like the resistance of it. When I found out we were responsible, look, I could handle being responsible for my deeds because I could stop myself. Not always, but I was doing a pretty good job. You should have seen me when I was in my teens. Holy mackerel. So I was doing pretty good. And I'm like, okay. Then I started working on hard stuff like you're not even supposed to get mad at them. You're supposed to forgive them. You're supposed to let it go. But that's them. That's their journey. You got to, there might be an asshole. They're going to be an asshole when they die. It's you can tell them, but that's it. I have people who I dearly love that when I'm with them, it's just, and I'm like, I get it. It's not my job to fix it. I could go through a shit ton of emotional gauntlet of emotional damage, and God only knows what, when people go through stuff in families and stuff. Or I could just go, you know what? You do you. I'm going to do me. I see you once every, and I'm not going to go through this because I'm not around you enough to change you or influence how you're thinking or influence you, how you're thinking about me, because I'm telling you why I did it and you're not understanding because you're not listening to me. You already have a preconceived notion, and we've been through this 50 times before. So I'm going to assume that 51 isn't going to be any different from the first 50. So I'm just going to let you bounce along on your journey, love you through it. I'm guessing that you were in on that contract that we all signed. And the only thing that I can control is I'm not going to let you drive me crazy anymore because you don't define me. It may have been at a time when, I looked up to people that were older than me because, I couldn't reach. But when you get to a certain point, it's like everybody is broken in their own way. Everybody's broken. Some people got up and put the pieces back together. Some use crazy glue. Let's face it. Some use that Gorilla Glue and got a little bit too cakey with it, and it expanded. Now what? Because it's stuck. And there you are with this big old lump of whatever that was you did in 1985, whatever the hell. And it's there, but you're broken, but you're back together. You're limping a little, but you're making it. Right? But you're going to bring your broke ass, bruised up, duct tape back together, some bitch self over here and tell me how to run my life. Tell me all the things that are wrong with me. what you don't like and what you wish I wouldn't do, what you wish I wouldn't say, and don't you wish I could have done that? Don't you? Let me tell you something. You don't have a clue who I am, what I've been through, what I survived, what I fixed, what I prevented, what I didn't do, what I did do, who I loved, how I loved them, how that love turned into hate, turned into forgiveness, turned into a lesson, turned into wisdom, turned into helping others with that, turned into I wouldn't do that. Oh, that's going to hurt. And now you're going to come over here and you're going to tell me, honey, you don't know me. And that's okay. Because I don't know you really either. But I'm going to love you anyway. Just from here. People hurt people. Heard a wise man one time say, get somebody that has survived being hurt and then do them wrong and then be sitting somewhere and wonder where the hell they went and how you're so irrelevant now. There's no coming back from that because they don't want to be hurt again. And then you're going to be mad at them because they're reacting that way. And then you want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. No, here's the thing. You don't know because you weren't there. You only know what I'm saying. You're running it through your filter, your vantage point, and your preconceived notion of who you think I am, who you want me to be, who you wished I had become, or wished I never was. Everybody has this story. Everybody can say this story. So if you have those people, I want you to flip that in, go in that deep and saying those things and, glad to see you, sweetie. So the thing is we've got to stop taking our pieces that we've glued together. And just because we've learned to get along with our own limp, with our own piece of, well, now I've got so much freaking glue. Learn to use the good stuff. Put all my pieces back together. Shit's turned into armor. You're not getting in anymore. I will not allow it. That doesn't make me cold. That doesn't make me antisocial. I made a choice. So people from years ago that go, I don't know why I don't, I love you, baby. I love you just the way you are. I love you just the way you are. I know who you are. You showed me. And that's cool. But I'm going to do me over here. I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm talking about this is so many people. I'm just giving you words for your brain when you start going against. This happens to you because it happens to everybody. Okay? And if you don't think this doesn't have anything to do with ghosts, you're out of your mind. So learn how to deal with stuff here. Can you change it? That old thing. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. Therein lies the catch, my friend. Where do you think you get wisdom from? Experience. Where do you get experience from? Usually, the best wisdom comes with the worst experiences that you survived. And you put the pieces back together. The pieces become armor. Your own net of emotions, your own net of memory, your anxieties, your regret, your coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Now, you're not living, you're a ghost. How does that change for you? Where are you? Are you in the in-between? Have you crossed over? Did you follow the light? Did you follow your loved ones? Did you catch a falling star? Whatever you want to call it. Did you go through the tunnel? Did you go down the chute? Did you go up the elevator? Going down? Sideways? Sit here and wait a while? I'll wait here behind this water tank about 100, 150 years. Down here in the cool, dry basement where everything stays the same. Till somebody up there starts rattling and knocking down walls. I'm going to go up and kick open a few cabinet doors and throw some silverware around the kitchen, and I'll knock that crap off, and I'll come back here and sit behind the water heater again. What are you doing as a living person? Because that goes with you. And what are you going to want to come across? What's your message going to be? What's your mission going to be? Is your mission going to be to tell people where you hid the insurance papers because you were too stupid to do it when you were living? Are you going to spend the next 175 years trying to tell somebody it's behind the wall in the medicine cabinet? There's $5,000 in a jar buried in the basement, in the floor in the basement. I need my name cleared because I never did it. I didn't do the thing. I'm not guilty. I did do it. I was guilty. I loved her, not you. I did the thing. I took the stuff. I didn't tell you this. I said too much. I didn't say enough. I missed all the football games, the baseball games, the recitals. I worked too much. I wanted the nice car. I had the kid. By the time I paid for the car, the kid didn't want me anymore because I was too busy working to pay for the car. Not judging, but it happens. These are the regrets. These are the things you hear. Nobody says, boy, I wish I worked more. Some people do say, I wish I had achieved more. That's popular. And then there's people that feel like they've achieved so much. Slayed 3-headed dragons with a plastic spoon and lived to tell about it, and the scars to tell the story. The broken, the ones that got up, the ones who fought and glued the pieces back. And not acknowledged because it doesn't have a label on it that says PhD in chicanery, you name it. I'm trying to keep it clean. A BS degree from FU, right? Street cred. Lived through nightmares that if you so much as even saw it in a trailer for a movie, you'd go and clutch those pearls like nobody's business. Get the vapors. And that person that you're putting down lived it. Not only lived it, survived it, learned from it, then taught others how not to get caught up in it. You feel me? Now, that's the living. Now it's a ghost. Why are you coming back? Are you trying to get recognized in death by the living who didn't recognize you while you were still living? Wow, that's a tough one. Let that sink in. Are you trying to get recognition from the living that didn't recognize you when you were living? If you're a ghost. If you're a ghost while you're living, what are you going to be when you're dead? Interesting question. I don't know. I don't have the answers. Because this is an individual as the individual. If you're not it's crazy, but it's true. It's like these hoity-toity some bitches are out there spending millions of dollars to ask you what you got in your wallet. Sysco's asking you what you got in your suitcase, baby. What you got in your luggage. What's in your trunk? What kind of junk do you have in your trunk? Are you a Jacob Marley? forging the chains in life that you will carry and drag around through somebody's kitchen in their brand new $500,000 McMansion. Why? What's with these houses? And so the husband could be down in the man den and the woman could be up in her whatever, Chez La Fay somewhere, and they don't even know they're in there. This is why you have such great, these serial killer movies where all these people could get killed in the house. Nobody knows it. It's just rattling around in there, dead bodies falling out of the closet. Nobody has a clue. Think about it. It's all set up. If you're living in a small house, you know what's going on, keep an eye on each other. I digress. But anyway, I'm making a joke because it's a heavy subject, but I'm trying to find fun and exciting ways and throw a couple of daggers in there too, because it's something that you got to learn, right? If these people are ignoring you in life, if these people do not approve of you, why are you killing yourself to come back in death after you're dead to fix it with them? Settle it now. Just forgive them. Let them be them. I love you for being you. Don't have the time to change you now. Gotta go. Think what you want about me. I'm over here fabulous. Fabulous. I'm fine with who I am. I know how I got here. This is where I'm at, baby. This is where I'm at. I'm me, and that's fine. Now I'm a ghost. What am I telling you? I'm here behind my water heater. This is my house. Died in that chair. What are you doing? I see you every once in a while. You come into view, come into focus, get my attention, knock down a wall, bang around, have one of your little fights, throw a couple wine glasses across the kitchen. I'm coming up there. Coming up there because it's my house too. And the only thing I know how to do is stomp up the stairs, slam open the door, and maybe, chuck the poodle across the kitchen. Because I'm a ghost. And I don't know you, and you don't know me. Don't pretend you do. Don't call me somebody else's name. Don't ask me to perform. Don't ask me to do this. I'm not interested in talking in your little box. I don't know what that is. Y'all crazy up in here. All this modern stuff. I'm going back down in the cellar. Sometimes that's all a ghost wants to say, because it's not ready to deal with its own stuff, and it's certainly not ready to deal with yours. It's not interested in your problems. But one thing it found out, that's when you guys fight like that, when you guys argue, it gets a little jolt of energy. So the ones that are kind of lower level, that really aren't caught up in their net of emotions and just a little pissy, are going to do it even more. And they're going to get stronger and stronger. And then sometimes they get warped and change, and their personality changes because energy affects personality, and they change. We've all had friends, went off on some kind of weekend, came back shitty. People change. Ghosts change. Energy changes. What they focus on changes. And what they were focused on to come back in the first place is all different. The reason they stayed. I've seen ghosts that were strangers to this, just a familiar energy, doesn't know this person from anybody, recognized the energy and had the compassion enough to help a total stranger in death help the living. Seeing it more and more. There's a shift in the consciousness of all this. Notice it. So don't get caught up in all the minutia of all this. Just imagine, why would a ghost stay? And if I was a ghost right now, would I stay? And why would I stay? Would I want to cross? Would I want to follow that love light? Would I want to follow that light? Is it a trick? Is it a trap? I don't want to come back. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Don't throw a lot of fear in there. Just sort it and go, you know what? I want to connect into that dog I had in the 3rd grade. Is best freaking dog. we used to do this. We went fishing. We used to do this. You know, his buddy. He was always there for me. You know, when this happened or that happened. Think of those things. Connect into that love. I know we're going really late, but I want to play this little piece for you. This is going to be fun, and it's something you can go and finish later if you want, and it's free for everybody. If you're here on YouTube or Rumble, either way, you're going to get it if you want it. So before we go, I want to make sure I say these things. Tuesday night, we are having a movie. I believe it's going to be the fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know who you are, because I needed a clear copy. Night Flyer. So the vampire thriller, Stephen King's own. So sorry that he's. But back when Steve was Steve, Night Flyer blew my mind when I read the story. Blew my mind when I saw the flick. That will be our Tuesday night flick. Now, for everybody that has sent me links, suggestions, or we have put your suggestions in the queue for Bite Me Summer, you are still in the queue. We are all in the queue. What I'm trying to do is get a block of each, you know, ghost, werewolves, witches, you know, dogman, werewolf, Bigfoot, cryptid, you know, that kind of thing. All these movies, and get a block of really good flicks for each subject that we have gone in the chat and discussed while we watched it, because we've watched some really good ghost ones, you know, and I'm not done with those yet, but we've got, you know, The Haunting and so many different ones. So, and, you know, dealing with the spiritual warfare as well, like the Ravine and Nefarious and others. So I want to do a block of really good movies on each one of these subjects of the paranormal, supernatural. And then we'll go back and do some of the other ones, you know, that the first ones that I'm doing really have a lot of lore, facts, got it right. They're really not over dramatized. You're really learning from them, like, say, the others, where you can learn a lot from that. You can learn a lot from Ghost. You can learn a lot from the time of their lives and things like this. So that's why I was looking for vampire movies that weren't just, you know, cheesy theatrics and, you know, cinematography and all, for the times and all that kind of stuff. I want stuff that's got the lore. So we did a poll on our last movie in chat. Thank you for everybody that was there. And again, this is only on Rumble, just Tuesday nights on Rumble. Monday nights with Steve when he can get here. God bless him. He's trying, guys. That's on all the channels, streams around. So that's why I was trying to find ones, you know, with the lore. So we had, between the two, we narrowed it down to Interview with the Vampire or Dracula with Gary Oldman, and Dracula with Gary Oldman won. So that will be probably, get a clear copy of that, and that will be probably our movie for next week. So that won the poll. There you go. House business done. The last story I want to tell you about is one of my personal favorites. I did bring this up in the beginning with Bryce Bond, and I just loved him. So this is a little story. Now, they called it The Ghost with the Knife because, again, it sounds scary and it sounds, you know, ominous and all that. But I don't know that that's what Bryce called it. So let me just go ahead and tell you the story. So in the late 1960s, Henry, a hardworking man, lived alone. Now, there will be some spoiler alerts in this, but I tried to chop it up a little bit so you didn't hear the whole thing, and there's still more meat on the bone for you, okay? But there is a spoiler alert in here, so it's work your way through it. Work your way through it, okay? So in the late 1960s, Henry, a hardworking man, lived alone in 1447 at 1447 Locust Avenue, Mineola, New York. Responsible for his home's upkeep, he planned to fix a faulty gas heater but fell gravely ill. Feverish and unable to speak, he died in bed, his repair undone, guilt anchoring his soul. Okay, so there's one that goes with our thing. Guilt. This would be, okay, unfinished business. But again, much broader than that, I believe. I think that's just kind of milquetoast in it. Okay, so by 1974, a young couple and their 3-year-old son moved into the house, unaware of its danger. Soon, eerie signs appeared, and the boy whispered of a man in his room. clutching a buck knife, that classic 1960s dad tool. Everybody had a buck knife. Everybody had either a buck knife, they had the Swiss Army knives, everybody had like a little pen, a lot of people call it pen knife, that kind of thing. So anyway, the footsteps creaked up the basement stairs, and the thermostat spun itself, to new settings, 65, 67, 70 degrees. Excuse me. Sometimes in the night, it would go to 90 degrees. Henry's ghost was restless. Excuse me 1 second. Oh, that's tasty. Chamomile and honey. They would hear the footsteps coming up the basement stairs, the door open, yet saw nothing move. So he's just projecting, either telepathically, hallucination, manifesting the sound. We don't know. I love German Shepherds as well. Hey, Lord Connor, how you doing, baby? And nothing would move. On December 16th, 1974, psychic Bryce Bond, a radio DJ with a sixth sense, was called to investigate. This is the man I told you about. Stepping into the house, he felt Henry's heavy regret, like a weight on his chest. Bryce and his team worked with the couple, not only uncovered the shadowy messages of the ghost Henry struggles to reveal, but actually helps him move on. Through multiple attempts to unravel the mystery, the homeowners began to put the pieces together. During a trance, Henry revealed through Bryce that there was a major problem with the boiler. Bond urged the family to act. They evacuated and called the gas service just in time, saving their home. Henry's ghost faded, his warnings delivered, his guilt lifted. As Hans Holzer said, ghosts are people haunted by unhappy memories, incapable of escaping themselves. Henry lingered to protect, not just for unfinished business. This tale inspired a 1977 CBS radio mystery theater episode, The Ghost with a Knife, though they spiced it up with a bit scarier knife-wielding ghost. So for anybody who would like to finish that, mods, those of you who had the link to that show, I did the whole show. I believe it's a double header. I believe it's Ghost with a Knife and The Forgetful Ghost, which is a wonderful episode. You know, it's so funny because it's just this forgetful ghost, and he's just delightful, and he meets another guy, a living guy, and he kind of helps out the ghost and stuff. It's a great little story. But this one is based on fact. And you say that anyhow way you want. Bryce wrote about it, which sparked this CBS mystery show. So they did a good job with it. They really didn't embellish it much. It's a little funny to listen to because you've got this 1970s kind of feel of the, the American couple, the little 3-year-old boy and the husband and wife who don't know anything about ghosts or hauntings. They just, they're just regular, any town USA couple. And, she does her little, kind of fainting, kind of clutching the pearls kind of thing. At one point, she's kind of falling apart, and another time he's falling apart. But keep in mind, this case went on quite a long time, compared to today's in and out, and, we have the answers kind of thing. Bryce and his one other guy, he was a photographer who also happened to be a medium. Bryce also has abilities. Went and helped this couple out. I have no idea I don't think it took months. It was days, but they stayed there for quite a while. So think of Poltergeist when the college people come and move in for, a couple of weeks, and they're just there and they're not leaving until they get some answers. That's kind of what went down. So that episode that I did, it's in my playlist, and I believe my wonderful mods, thank you guys, are dropping the links now in the chat. If you want to watch that whole one, it is a double header. There is visuals, fun visuals. I think candles floating, maybe some fireplaces. I don't know what else. On that one, it was kind of an earlier one that I did because it was my favorite. I think it was like the first one I did like that. But you get something. And the story is a compacted version of what happened. So it's kind of like watching the Dead Files. Amy was there for like a week investigating, and DeSalves was out there, investigating, talking to all his cop friends and stuff for, weeks on end with a bunch of different researchers and stuff on his end. And then they meet together, and Amy actually sits there and talks to the homeowners for like 8 hours, and you get all this in, 40 minutes and a bunch of commercials, usually for Pfizer. So anyhow, they have to kind of do it like that, but know that this investigation went for a little bit, and it was really kind of cool. I thought it was really neat what happened. I remember when it kind of all went down after the fact, because like I said, I found out about him through this, and then I had to go back and research. It was very difficult, but I've always been drawn to investigators and parapsychologists that were kind of in this ilk, with Hans Holzer, and even, Harry Price has got his place, Peter Underwood, Sybil Leek, and just different people. But this one I liked. It was like kind of, there's not a lot of books with his, multiple cases and things in it, but the ones that we have, they're really heartfelt. He really went through a lot to explain to the people. And he went in with that kind of intent Hans was talking about, that sympathetic intent. And I think that's why he got results. And isn't that what we always say on this show? Right? So I thought I'd play a little piece of it. So if you'd like to hear a little bit of the beginning, if you want to finish it, you can follow that link on YouTube, and you can finish watching the whole thing. But I thought you'd get a kick out of hearing just the beginning. So let's share that up now. I know we're going a little over, so if you got to go, I understand. But for those who want to stay, we got about 10 minutes of this, and then we'll get out of here. What am I doing? Hitting those buttons. Let me see if I can get the right one. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. Steve will be here tomorrow night. We'll probably continue on. Okay, that's not the one I want.
We have no...
Stop there. Okay. Let me get the right one. Let's do that one more time. Do that to me one more time. Remember that song? Oh my gosh, Captain and Tennille, are you kidding me? Yep, that's it. Remember that Muskrat Love? That crap haunted us all through my high school. Oh my gosh, at least 2 years of high school. Somebody be playing that stupid Muskrat Love. I'm sorry, but oh my gosh. Between that, You Light Up My Life, and what's the other one? I'm Hopelessly Devoted to You. And I'm sitting there listening to Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, and just, I was, that was my journey in high school. Okay, here we go. I believe I've got it at the very beginning, and I'm going to let Bryce introduce himself and introduce you a little bit to the couple. And again, if you want to do the whole thing, it's right here on my Journey Through the Gate. And you get a double header. You get The Ghost with a Knife and The Forgetful Ghost on CBS Mystery Theater. Directed by the great Hyman Brown, I think his name was.
Thoughts for you, but kindness and love.
Right,
it is time now for you to leave the world of earth and return to your world.
Are you guys hearing that?
Where there must be God's work for you to do.
Let's see if I hear it over here.
Do you hear me, spirits?
I'm not hearing that. Are you hearing it?
Make us know why you are tied to this house.
And it takes a minute to
you
catch
have
up.
left behind your loved ones in your world to be here.
Come on.
Spectral spirit. Why are you in this house? What do you want to say? Oh, I feel the weight.
Oh, you do get it. Okay, I'll listen over here with you guys.
Something was taking possession of me. My head became heavy. It was hard to breathe, to get my words out. The spirit was.
You guys are getting it 5. Okay, thanks, I'm coming.
At last it passed, and we left the attic. On the second floor, we checked every room. Little Tommy's, where he lay asleep, had the warmest vibrations. Leo and Rebecca's very cold and unusual vibrations. David took pictures everywhere.
Bryce, shall we do the exorcism now?
I was just going to suggest that. Every room.
Exorcism? Isn't that some kind of spooky religious thing for witches and devils and, well, I don't know what?
Leo, you've been seeing too many horror movies. We're not about to exorcise a person, but the rooms.
But isn't that, well, kind of...
Started at the wrong spot. This is the beginning. I got to shut off my mic so you don't get the echo. But this is the beginning of that. So, take two.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. 2,000 years before Christ, Antef, the Egyptian king of the 11th dynasty, had this inscribed upon his tomb: "There is none who comes back from the dead, that he may tell their state, that he may tell their needs. It is not given to man to take his property with him, nor is there one who departs who ever comes back again." Today, almost 4,000 years later, we have reason to believe this is not so. People do come back from the dead.
Rebecca, what does the ghost look like?
He's about 6 feet tall, has a beard, green pants, olive green, and he holds in his hand a long knife.
How old would you say he is?
About 30.
Anything peculiar about his clothing?
I'd say they were, well, what people wore in the 40s. My dad had pleated pants like his.
So it's possible your ghost passed over 30 years ago.
Passed over?
Died. You see, spirits never grow older. They remain exactly the age they were when they left this world and entered theirs.
Our mystery drama, The Ghost with a Knife, based on a psychic case history reported by Bryce Bond, was dramatized especially for the Mystery Theater by James Agate Jr. and stars Arnold Moss and Patricia Elliott. It is sponsored in part by Buick Motor Division and Contact, the 12-hour cold capsule. I'll be back shortly with Act One. You sit around talking with friends and someone asks, "Do you believe in ghosts?" For the most part, the non-believers are those to whom extrasensory experiences have never happened. But there are very many in this world to whom the spirits of another world are very real and active and cry to be heard. One of those who hears them and deals with them is Bryce Bond, a well-known psychic scientist and investigator of the supernatural and supernormal.
Let me get down to cases, one in particular. About a week before December the 16th, 1974, I received a call from the president of the Foundation for Parasensory Investigation, who told me that a policeman from Mineola, Long Island, called to say that a Mr. and Mrs. Green, a young couple he knew, asked him to come over to their house and investigate a ghost. I set up a date with the couple and asked David Enters, a medium, a psychic, and also a photographer, to come along with me.
Come in, come in. You are...
Bryce Bond, and this is David Enters.
How do you do? You can leave your overcoats here.
I'll hang on to my camera if you don't mind.
You're going to take pictures of our ghost, Mr. Enters?
If I can.
I didn't know one could. This is my husband, Leo.
How do you do?
Our boy Tommy is upstairs. He's asleep, I hope.
I see you've got a camera. I've always thought those pictures of spooks and ghosts were fakes. You know, superimposed shots, that kind of thing.
Have you seen this ghost, Mr. Green?
I most certainly have.
Well, then perhaps so can my camera. I use infrared film. Wherever heat is generated in outline or even in considerable detail, it will register on the film.
Oh, I had no idea.
May we start? Mr. Green, Mrs. Green, I'll begin by asking you your first names.
Rebecca.
Rebecca. And your husband is Leo, and your boy is...
Tommy.
Tommy. Well, now, I'm Bryce, and this is David. If we're to help you, we should all try to be as relaxed and informal and friendly as we can. Now, this apparition you experience, we want you to regard him or her...
It's a man.
Well, he's to be regarded as a friend. We don't want to antagonize or frighten him.
We're the ones who are being frightened. He isn't really a very friendly spirit. He looks horrible.
Rebecca, can you tell us when you first saw him?
Yes. When I first... It all started
Becky, may I? My wife is really very upset about this. You see, she's home most of the time, and I'm at work. So she's been under a much greater strain. I think I can be calmer.
There it is. Those are the footsteps.
We've sort of become used to our ghost walking up from the cellar. He's been doing that for months now.
Leo, I can tell them. Tommy was the first to see the ghost. Tommy, my son. He came down one morning. He's only 4. And he said, Mommy, who's that man in my room? He said, I woke up in the middle of the night, and he was standing there.
We didn't know what to make of it at first. I said to Becky, I think Tommy's having a nightmare. But it kept happening, night after night.
That's him, coming up the cellar stairs. Then he opens the cellar door. He's doing it now, in the kitchen.
Well, maybe he's showing off because you've got guests.
Oh, no, he does that every evening. But most of the time you don't see him. He doesn't, what do you call it?
Materialize.
No, he doesn't. He just walks around invisible. And I don't like the idea of leaving my wife and son in a house with a strange guy. He's 6 foot tall.
Will you excuse me? I'd like to go into the kitchen and have a look down those cellar stairs. I'll be right back.
So he goes up and down the cellar stairs.
That's right. Through the cellar, into the boiler room.
Always follows a pattern.
I think he's trying to attract our attention to something. We get the feeling he wants us to follow him down there.
And do you follow him?
Yes, we have many times, but there isn't anything special down there, so it doesn't make any sense.
Cellar door was open. Went down a couple of steps, but I couldn't see a thing. Took some shots, but I don't have much hope.
Well, there's nothing down there but the usual stuff people have in their basements. And the oil burner. Actually, 2 oil burners. We put in a new one last spring and just left the old, useless, rusty one where it was.
Leo, how long have you lived here?
Since right after last Christmas. Almost a year.
It was December 29th, last year.
The house was built in 1929, so the old oil burner didn't owe us anything.
Anyway, all this started this past October. For weeks, we only heard noises. And then, as I told you, Tommy started to see the ghost in his room at night. And about a month ago, November, so did we.
Well, I'm sorry we didn't know about this manifestation sooner.
So am I. But Becky and I, we didn't know what to do. You know, people kid you. And remember Joe Forster, our friendly patrolman.
Mm-hmm. What made you decide to tell a policeman?
It's one thing just to hear noises. It's another thing to see a man. 6 feet tall. But last Monday, I was alone here with Tommy. And he came at us with the knife.
I've done many years of investigative work into the parasensory, but this was the first time I'd heard of a supernatural entity holding a knife. I gave the Greens a complete rundown of who David and I were, the extent of the work of the foundation, and said that we were quite prepared to help them immediately.
You mean right now, this evening?
As much as we can. Agreed?
I should say so.
Oh, yes.
Rebecca, let's start by going upstairs to Tommy's room. That's where he first saw the apparition.
Yes. But I wouldn't like to wake him.
It's not necessary. And, Leo, Would you take David down to the cellar so that he can have a look around? It's from the cellar the ghost always comes, yes?
That's right. We think he must live down there.
Just up these stairs, Mr.
Bryce.
Bryce. Here at the landing, that's our bedroom. Leo's and mine on the right. And Tommy's is on the left. Only Tommy has seen him inside his room. I first saw him here, outside Tommy's door. We're standing right where you're standing.
What does he look like?
He's about 6 feet tall, has a beard, dark hair, a maroon-colored shirt, green pants, olive green. And then, now, he carries this big knife.
Rebecca, how old would you say the ghost is?
Not old, about 30.
Uh-huh. Is there anything peculiar about his clothing?
Peculiar. You mean like bloodstains?
Oh, no. I mean, is it modern or is it old-fashioned?
Sort of modern, but not really what you're wearing today. Sort of like what people were wearing 20, 30 years ago.
I see. So it's possible the ghost passed over in the 1940s.
Passed over?
Died.
Oh. Do they appear to us in the same clothes they wore when they died?
Well, of course. The same clothes and the same age. Spirits never grow older as we do. They remain exactly the age they were when they left this world and entered theirs. Well, now, can we take a peek into Tommy's bedroom?
I'll open the door very quietly. I don't want to wake him.
Now, where was the ghost standing when Tommy saw him?
Mostly at the foot of his bed. Most of the times. Right by that window. Oh, and that's another thing. Wait a sec. I want to show you something. I don't know if this... Would you take a look at this plant?
Well, what is it? Or should I say, what was it?
African violets.
Could have used a little water.
That's just the point. This morning, this plant was healthy and alive. I got it at the store. It's at least a tenth of... Well, I don't know how many plants or all kinds we've put in Tommy's room. And he loves growing things. We watch them, water them, but they all die. Overnight, they shrivel up. Have you seen enough?
Yes, I have. How does Tommy react to the ghost?
Well, you know, he's very little.
Well, still...
He isn't scared. But he's only 4. That's awfully young to understand fear. I'll tell you something I've noticed, Bryce. Whenever I go into Tommy's room, I feel good there.
Can you explain that a little better?
Well, in the rest of the house, I feel uneasy, almost like alarmed. But in Tommy's bedroom, it's really more peaceful. I've had the funny idea that maybe the ghost is protecting my baby, and that's why it feels good in there.
Oh, there you are. Well, we explored the cellar. How's everything upstairs, Bryce?
It's very interesting, David. As I said before, this ghost follows a pattern. No question about that. You saw nothing in the basement.
Nothing visible, but I think, Bryce, we should consider that the old oil burner may have something to do with the ghost.
Yeah, that had occurred to me, too, David. But what?
Well, a number of possibilities, Leo. Somebody may be buried under the concrete.
In our cellar? Buried?
How horrible.
There's no point speculating how this wandering spirit died. Our job is to try to discover why he's here. You know, I find it warm in here. It would give us a better working atmosphere if you could please lower the heat. Just turn it down a couple of degrees.
Oh, Leo, we forgot to tell them.
Yes, we did. You see, Bryce, he turns up the heat.
He? You mean...
Yes, we forgot to tell you about that.
We're no different from anybody else. We've been trying to conserve heat every night. We push the thermostat down to about 60, 65.
Did either of you turn the thermostat down tonight?
Yes, I did. I remember distinctly doing it, but just before you two arrived.
Now, come have a look at the thermostat.
90. Look at that. Oh, let me get a shot.
Yep, 90 degrees. That's what he usually pushes it up to. You know, we've gotten up in the middle of the night, roasting. Come down, 90 degrees. We haven't been able to figure out what he's trying to do to us.
Leo, move to one side, please, so I can focus.
Yeah, sorry.
At least now we know he's come up from the cellar and was right here at this spot. This evening. Before, when I heard him walking back down the cellar stairs, I was afraid he'd left us. When strangers enter a house, generally a spirit will not manifest itself. Unless you make a real effort to be friendly.
Bryce, can I say something? I mean, about the way I feel.
Well, by all means.
I have a funny... No, it's not funny. It's really a very strange sense of dread. I never felt it quite so strong. Betty, what is it?
Oh, don't you feel it? Don't you feel anything?
You mean that cold wave of air? Oh, sure, I feel it. I'll just cover the whole room. See if anything registers on the infrared.
Oh, we haven't done something awful, have we? I mean, by asking you here.
It's very cold right in front of me. Like someone's looking right into my face.
I don't think I can stand this much longer, oh, Leo.
We must all be calm and accept the fact that at this very moment, our mysterious friend is in this room. And he's moving about.
Rebecca and Leo Green are real people. This event really occurred in their Tudor-style home on Locust Avenue, Mineola, Long Island, on the 16th of December, 1974. Bryce Bond and David Enters are witness to this fact. I'll return shortly with Act Two. The lives of a young suburban couple and their 2-year-old son are suddenly turned topsy-turvy when their home is invaded by an apparition who appears to live in their cellar and wanders about their house day and night. To live in a house with a spectral stranger is unnerving enough, but when the ghost carries a long, dangerous-looking knife and wanders about the house day and night, to live in a house with a spectral stranger is unnerving enough, but when the ghost...
Okay, sorry about the echo. Okay. All I can do is listen to it on my phone to kind of tell you where it was cutting off. So, where I had to cut it off, excuse me. So, this is fabulous in so many ways. If you really want to study older paranormal cases, today's paranormal cases, there's so many similarities between cases. But what does change is, like we've been saying all night, it's the ghost. It's the individual. It's the individual that's being haunted. It's the living that are on the property or, being affected. And those things change. Culture changes. Of course, what the ghost knows. I mean, if the ghost has been gone for 50 years or 100 years, what it's understanding, you can't just jump in there and assume that they've watched the changes and they know everything that's going on. Some do. Some do, or at least have a good idea. They've got a lot of questions, but they have a good idea. They're getting the gist. Some don't have a clue. So you can't go at every haunting different. The same. You just can't. You can have steps, but you can't just assume every ghost is this, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. There are some things that don't change, don't fluctuate. The person is gone. The person is no longer here, physical. Everything after that, it's up for whatever. So this story is fantastic because Bryce has got a great approach. He's got a great understanding. He says some really wild things that give you pause. So it makes you, to me, may to you as well. I love that he said, and I don't know that I agree with it, but I don't really have the benefit of a deep research database to be able to go in there and see what he really felt about it. And I don't know if they took him verbatim when they did the screenplay for this radio. So I can't really back it up, but it's an intriguing statement. He says in this show, and I believe it's in Act 2. That was the first act. There's 3 acts. He says that remember, because he's talking to the chicken at this point in time, excuse me, the lady, this point in time, she's the one that's kind of losing it a little bit. They take turns. But again, they're just trying to emphasize the emotional damage that a haunting can do to people who don't know. And I mean, for sure, people who do know go through a lot of crap. So he's trying to explain to her that, remember, because she's worried. She was like, oh, he's watching us all the time. And she's having a little bit of a breakdown. And he says, remember, they can only see you when you see them. They can only see you when you see them. How interesting that statement is to me, because I'm thinking, well, how can that be true? You know what I mean? And my mind starts shooting off like fireworks yesterday, which was something, by the way. Hoorah. And so I wanted to look into that a little bit, and I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about it, because I personally don't think that's true, but I'm not 100% convinced on the data that I have on that specific thing, if I have enough to go against all the things that I feel he's been pretty spot on about. But again, you don't agree with everything for people. And I would just love to be able to sit down with him. He's passed. Sit down with him and pick his brain and say, explain that to me. Because hearing another sentence with that out of his mouth from his philosophy might just be enough. Everybody go, oh, okay. Definitely put that on the shelf. That's So he does other ones too. It's definitely worth listening to, and it's worth, and this is me saying that again, like I'm anybody, but out of my mouth saying that, I would say that this play definitely has a lot of good research material in it. They've packed a lot in 44 minutes. They're giving you a very good description on not over. It feels over dramatized because it's so far removed from today's culture and what's popular and how women speak to guys and how guys speak to women and how women are perceived in and out of the home and in and out of the workforce and just all the things. Because back then she had no problem going, you almost expect her to faint any minute for somebody, one of the men, to catch her, kind of thing. And not that I wouldn't want to be caught by anybody if I was fainting. I'm just saying that's how it's perceived. On top of that, you have a very theatrical character, real life character, in how Bryce spoke, how he his elocution and the way he spoke and his character and his very on stage big personality behind the mic, and how he wrote and how he was in life. Very, he was very this side, not really vaudeville-ish, but just this side, theater meets classical theater meets a little the good side of vaudeville kind of thing. But he was, in my opinion, everything that I've read and been able to understand about him, he was very impeccable character, and everybody loved him and just thought the world of it. Even if they didn't believe in this, they were like, oh, he was good. He'd go on. Don't ask him because he'll tell you kind of stories and stuff. But man, you want to believe him. If I believed in that stuff, I'd believe him. That kind of stuff people would say. Taught and highly respected. So when he goes in and he's talking to these people, taking all that into consideration, glean from that what you will. There's a lot to learn for somebody who's serious about understanding ghosts and how they go, even with the spoiler, because we all know at this time the spoiler is the boiler, right? So we all know at this point in time that this ghost, the reason he stayed behind, may not have been specifically for the boiler. because we know he had a fever. We had a hard time communicating. We're hearing that, and you'll hear more of it in the story if you continue it. They get detailed and they tell everything is getting explained. And it really is a wealth of information, and very interesting the way they put it together. So it is available. There it is. It's on my YouTube, and you can finish it with the bonus of Forgetful Ghost. So, put it on, turn down the lights, finish your evening, and finish listening to it. Even though you know the end, there's so many surprises in the middle. There's someone we didn't expect that has abilities, that is picking up stuff. There is, which is probably one of the reasons he was so able to come out of his net of emotions and what he was seeing, because the strength of even caring about this child, I think personally, this is me, think helped pull him out of the darkness and into the light. I don't know who was there before. I don't know if he's even aware of who lived there before. I don't know. I can't tell you that. But the way it was affecting the plants, the way it felt good in the room, even though the plants were dying, all of these things, the feeling, the emotion, what I was saying earlier tonight about having good filters and trusting those filters and understanding that certain things may be able to manipulate something else. But at the same time, understand if bad things can manipulate good things and control or puppeteer or trick or whatever it may be, the good side is doing that as well, but for good reasons and out of love and out of light. And we need to also focus on those things. And this story, The Ghost with the Knife, even though it has a scary story, oh, there's a ghost coming at me. Let's stop a minute and ask, why is the ghost doing that? Is it confused? Is he just trying to get attention? Is it what's happening here? I'll have some more stories for tomorrow night. I'm hoping Steve will be here. We'll take him for as long as we can get him. Holden gets first dibs. Nick gets what's left over from that. And if we're lucky, and as it should be. And, we've all got lives and we're all going to help each other, friends, through all the important things. We're going to be here for the good, the bad, and the what the fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're here for. We're trying to get each other through it. Depending on how you looked at it, I think yesterday was a fantastic day. I know there's devastation and horror going on in the world, but sometimes you got to focus on the good stuff so you can get through the devastation and the horror. And yesterday for me was a very good day. Happy 250th United States Army, for which I proudly served and was glad to do it. I'll tell you right now, seeing the things that I saw, and I won't get too deep into it, but seeing the commander-in-chief swearing in a group of new recruits getting ready to embark on their journey into the service in the military as it stands today. One word: hoorah. Drive on. Drive on. Happy birthday, Army. Thank you for your service. Listen, Marines, Navy, y'all got your day coming, but we were with George, we were here before it was a country, so there it is. We all have beautiful histories in each beginning, the military service. And if you're ever in the military, you just see it that way. We tease each other back and forth. We're all brothers. We're all brothers. And I say that including females and everything else. And anybody that would serve in the military understands what I just said. We are brothers. We do it for the boot standing next to us, for the one standing next to on either side. And in that line doesn't end. It goes on into infinity. For the first boot that was put on, for the first rifle that was picked up, for the first cannon fire, for the first person that stood up at somebody stand next to him, formed a line that continues on today and has been going on for 250 years. And I'm proud to say I was part of it. One small, minute little dot in the mosaic that is the United States Army. We're proud to be part of the military. We're proud that oath does not die, and that is for everybody's freedom, everybody's rights. And as we say here on this show, don't get your peanut butter in my chocolate. We won't have a problem. Enjoy it over there. I don't need to hear about it. I don't want to taste it. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to hear you chew it. Just get over there. Leave me and my chocolate alone. Don't start no more. No. God bless America. Long may she wave. God bless each and every one of you, wherever you may be tonight. Do not worry. Do not fear. Listen to the rest of this show. I think you'll enjoy it. It's, like I said, it's a really good paranormal lesson. It's very entertaining, and I'm gonna listen to it the rest of the way myself. Sorry about the sound, but we found a way. Good night, everybody, and I'll let you know tomorrow what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I hope you enjoy it. I hope I see you back here tomorrow night. If you're not subscribed, please do. Please follow me on Rumble. If not, you're missing the movies. You're missing a good chat. You're missing a chance to put your ideas down there and bounce them off of other people. We normally try to focus on what, half the time I can't freaking focus, but focus on the movie and what's going on. It's that's BS. That would never happen. That's Hollywood, whatever. And sometimes I get to jump in there and go, guys, I've seen that happen. This does happen sometimes. And other people come in and go, that happened to me. Or I know somebody that this happened to, or whatever. And we always continuously learn, staying sharp, trying to keep learning, finding different ways to try to sort out who we are. And I think who we are determines where we are and where we might be going, or where we decide to sit it out and rest a while and try to sort it out. And by God, I'm telling you, I hope you get somebody that comes along that can communicate with you if you need assistance across the other side. And I hope they paid attention, and I hope they're doing it with the right intent. And I hope they're there to help and understand and lend a hand, instead of just escalating the problem and being unsympathetic, as Hans Holzer said. So we're on our way out of here. Let me grab us something to get us out, because when I clicked that button, we lost all our videos again, which is great. It happens all the time. StreamYard is trying to get better. We'll keep trying. I love you all. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the show. Thanks for hanging in there through all the ups and downs. You know what I mean? We're real here. We're here to try to learn from each other and help each other. Good night, everybody. Be good humans.